Chapter 963. The Saber Sovereign and the Sword Sovereign did not get along. They had been competing for supremacy for more than 1,000 years, but neither could do anything to the other. If Qin Shaoqing really ruined today's matter to the point of losing all face and news of this reached Xiaoqian's master, he would definitely punish him. Just one Gu Jianheng easily knocked back the Inferno Saber Sovereign's disciple, Lin Yan. Although there were many bladesmen here, who would dare to challenge Qin Shaoqing? What's wrong? You don't even have that much courage? Qin Shaoqing mocked. Bai Lang, are the people you gathered a bunch of trash? You can't even find someone with some courage. I think there is really no need for this tea party to continue. Rage surged in Bai Lang's heart. He simply could not endure this. He raised his foot, wanting to step forward and accept Qin Shaoqing's challenge. However, someone was faster than him. Right after Qin Shaoqing spoke, Xiaoqian's figure flashed, and he leaped forward. Brother Xiao, this is a competition between the saber and the sword of my profound domain. Let me do it. Seeing Xiaoqian step forward, Bai Lang's first reaction was gratitude. However, he still advised Xiaoqian not to make a move, so he immediately sent a voice projection. Xiaoqian replied calmly, Brother Bai Lang, what are your chances of victory? 40%. Can the Saber Dao Tea Party afford to lose face like this? Not at all. Since I've stood out, I'm 100% confident. Brother Bai, just watch. Using voice projection, the two quickly exchanged a few words. Then Bai Lang remained silent. Xiaoqian's consecutive questions already clearly pointed out the crux of the problem. Qin Shaoqing sized up Xiaoqian, who stepped forward. Then he smiled and said, Bai Lang, is that all you are capable of? Sending an outsider up. It turns out that the Saber Sovereign's bloodline is indeed cowardly. Xiaoqian retorted indifferently. There is no need for the young city lord to make a move to deal with you. What shameless boasting. Is it your turn to speak to our young master here? Gu Jianheng snorted coldly. Then he raised his sword and turned into a beam of sword light, charging at Xiaoqian. Behind him, there were 9 balls of light that looked like blazing suns. They were like 9 brilliant suns, and the light was so dazzling that no one dared to look at them directly. The might of Xiaoqian's small perfection sword soul spread out, emitting a vigorous aura. On the high platform, some of the wooden tables behind Xiaoqian immediately shattered. Some of the bladesmen got up and retreated, circulating their energies to block. Their expressions were somewhat unsightly. Sword intent and sword soul were essentially the same, but the difference between the two was like water and ice. The latter's might was several times greater than the former's. A swordsman who comprehended a sword soul held an overwhelming advantage over a bladesman who did not. Unless there was a huge gap in their cultivation, their chances of victory were slim. This Gu Jianheng before Xiaoqian relied on the might of his sword soul to take Xiaoqian down a notch, forcing him to retreat. However, Xiaoqian's feet did not move at all. No matter how the other party drove the might of his sword soul, his body remained like an old tree, unmoving like a mountain. If one looked carefully, even his hair and clothes did not move. The reason was none other than the small perfection saber soul hidden in Xiaoqian's purple lightning talisman already spread throughout his entire body. With the help of the immortal will of thunder, how could the other party touch him? Xiaoqian's small perfection saber soul already possessed the immortal attribute. It was an immortal saber soul. Unless the other party also comprehended a will, and had an attribute that rivaled the immortal attribute, they would not be able to suppress him with just might. How can this be? Gu Jianheng paled slightly, not daring to believe the scene before him. He had already unleashed the might of his small perfection sword soul, without holding anything back. However, not to mention flying back in a sorry state, Xiaoqian's hair did not even move. Qin Shaoqing's expression changed slightly. His eyes widened as he understood the reason behind it. He said, Junior brother Jianheng, you have not comprehended a will. Quickly back off. However, it was already too late. Boom. The immortal saber soul that Xiaoqian had infused into his body burst out. Clang, 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 clang. Metallic clangs of saber and sword clashing rang out continuously in the air. Intense shockwaves exploded in the air. The saber wind and sword wind intertwined, forming a twisting hurricane that surged out. Everywhere the hurricane passed, aside from the 18 stone pillars of the Saber Sovereigns, the buildings and statues in the plaza shattered under the might of this boundless hurricane. The hurricane was filled with terrifying saber chi and sword chi. Occasionally, lightning and fiery light flickered, looking extremely horrifying. Gu Jianheng and Lu Kuan had already been knocked back the instant Xiao Chen unleashed his immortal saber soul. At this moment, the ones clashing in the plaza were Qin Xiaoqing and Xiao Chen. The various mysterious phenomena were the result of their intense battle. Although it was an intense battle, the two on the tall platform did not move at all. They only looked at each other coldly as they continuously unleashed their saber soul and sword soul. In the end, lightning flashed and thunder roared around Xiao Chen. Purple saber chi flew everywhere. Scorching flames floated around Qin Xiaoqing's body. Snow-white sword chi danced around wildly, releasing a world-shaking state of destruction. The two's auras soared to their limits. The saber light and sword light on their bodies were already as resplendent as the sun. They soared into the clouds, their voices echoing for 5 kilometers around. The people in the Heavenly Cauldron Plaza had already retreated to the side, watching from afar. Only Bai Lang, Feng Xingxing, Lin Yan Dugaju and a few others dared to get close to watch. Be it a bladesman or a swordsman, Wu Wan's path was much more difficult than that of regular cultivators. A strong saber intent and sword intent already gave them the qualifications to challenge those of a higher cultivation realm. At the same time, they also comprehended wills, which contained a certain attribute. Aside from demonic geniuses, there was no other way to describe such a swordsman or bladesman. Right now, there were two such demonic geniuses facing each other on the tall platform. Bai Lang's expression turned grave as he muttered to himself, Qin Xiaoqing is truly unfathomable. His will of fire actually contains the state of destruction. No wonder he dared to barge in with just the three of them. With such strength, he would not fear being surrounded by people of the same generation. However, what surprised Bai Lang even more was Xiao Chen. Originally, he had never thought of roping him into the tea party. Not only did Xiao Chen discuss the Tao over tea, but he also caused the ancient people to show themselves and the 18 saber sovereigns to speak at the same time. Such a miraculous scene appeared at the tea party. Now Xiao Chen blocked the sword sovereign's first disciple, who came to cause trouble. All of this gave Bai Lang an unimaginable shock. The two attacked at the same time. Qin Xiaoqing drew his sword. The treasure sword looked like frost, giving off a cold light. Then he thrust it at Xiao Chen's throat. A surging fiery light held behind Qin Xiaoqing. This sword strike was like a volcano that had been dormant for hundreds of years. The sky shook, and many cracks appeared in the ground. Xiao Chen took a step forward, and a bright moon rose behind him. With a flash, spring thunder roared, and peach blossoms bloomed for 5 kilometers around. Then he pointed with his finger and blocked the tip of the other party's sword. A horrifying explosion resounded, and the two each took 10 steps back. A fiery sword chi containing an intense state of destruction surged out from Xiao Chen's body, surging unparalleled. The moment it entered, it wanted to tear Xiao Chen's meridians, flesh, bones, and skin to shreds. It possessed startling destructive power. The attack was ferocious and intense. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He used 5 times his law energy, turning it into purple lightning before he managed to destroy this sword chi. If Xiao Chen had been a little slower or not been decisive enough, using only 2 or 3 times his law energy, his right hand would have been crippled. An immortal energy flowed through the sword and into Qin Xiaoqing's body. It felt like needles piercing through his meridians and bones. Qin Xiaoqing's right hand, which held the sword, felt a heart-wrenching pain. That energy was full of life force, possessing a strong life force. Qin Xiaoqing tried to extinguish it a few times, but a strand of electric light leaped out and regrew like a seed. The tall platform under Xiao Chen's feet was already in tatters, leaving only the 18 stone pillars standing alone. Both of them looked at each other with a hint of caution. This place is not big enough. If you want to fight, come with me outside the city. Xiao Chen said indifferently. Electric light flashed under his feet, and he flew out of Heavenly Cauldron City. At Martial Sage, the range of a fight was already startlingly large. Earlier, in the gathering of friends with the saber, The various bladesmen had purposely suppressed their cultivations. These bladesmen did not have any intention of fighting, only exchanging pointers. Their destructive power would not be sufficient. However, now Xiao Chun and Qin Xiaoqing's reputation was at stake. Clearly, they had to decide who was stronger. They had no choice but to bring out their full strength. A strange light flashed in Qin Xiaoqing's eyes. Before he came, he already knew that when Xiren was not around, he was very confident that he could turn this saber Daoti party into a joke. At the same time, he would establish the reputation of this saber Daoti party. Unexpectedly, a white-robed bladesman suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This immediately messed up Qin Xiaoqing's plans. I want to see what kind of person you are to dare to block my attack. In the profound domain, Qin Xiaoqing could be said to not fear anything. As a disciple of the Sword Sovereign, Qin Xiaoqing looked down on most cultivators of the same generation. He had never truly feared anyone. A fiery light streaked across the sky like a meteor, leaving a long trail of flames lingering in the air for a long time. Qin Xiaoqing did not hesitate to chase after Xiao Chun out of Heavenly Cauldron City. Standing far away from the city, Bai Kong Yuan and Kong Yuan, who were waiting for Qin Xiaoqing, suddenly discovered two beams of intense light flying towards them. This is not good. Qin Xiaoqing probably ran into Wen Xiren. Let's move aside first and not interfere. Yuan Su's expression changed slightly, and he quickly revealed his true form, turning into a jade-white nine-tailed spirit fox with a surging fiendish qi. Yuan Su carried Bai and Kong Yuan, and leaped into the air, moving 5 kilometers away. The two exchanged only one move, but the commotion they caused left a deep impression on the many bladesmen present. Seeing the two leave the city, hundreds of figures immediately flew out of the city and gave chase, not wanting to miss the scene of the fight. By the time the two gave chase, Xiao Chun and Qin Xiaoqing, who were 50 kilometers away from the city, had already exchanged more than 100 moves. There was always a bright moon hanging high in the sky, shrouding everything within a 50-kilometer radius in the night. However, the sky was not dark in this night. Be it Xiao Chen's will of thunder or the lightning that occasionally leaked out, they lit up the sky. Chapter 964. Furthermore, the resplendent flames around Qin Xiaoqing never stopped burning. This night did not seem dark at all. Instead, it was strangely bright, forming a strange scene. The two exchanged moves below a mountain range that spanned 50 kilometers. The birds and beasts in the forest had already fled in fright, and all the plants and trees were destroyed. Qin Xiaoqing's sword qi possessed unparalleled destructive power. As the sword qi surged out, large swathes of trees turned into dust. The ground turned into yellow dirt. Not a single blade of grass could be seen, and cracks spread out. In an instant, the shock waves from the two's exchange turned the mountain range for 50 kilometers into a barren, rocky mountain. Such a horrifying scene prompted the Heavenly Cauldron City bladesmen, who came to watch the fight, to stay far away, lest they accidentally get caught up in the shockwaves and end up in trouble. Xiao Chun had already executed flawless 4 seasons several times. However, he could not do anything to Qin Xiaoqing. Qin Xiaoqing's sword techniques had many killing moves. Furthermore, before the strong destructive attribute, the might of all the killing moves increased significantly. Xiao Chun used brute force to destroy flawless 4 seasons. Unable to execute the killing moves of Cycle of Seasons and Cycle of Life and Death, Xiao Chun fell into a passive position. Left without a choice, Xiao Chun could only bring out his immortal will of thunder, and use his flawless saber Dao to materialize the lightning tribulation saber technique, using brute force to counter brute force. More than 100 lightning dragons appeared. Jinlin had 2 horns on their heads. They circled around and roared ferociously, shaking their heads and wagging their tails. They looked very lifelike. They could even spit out lightning dragon breaths to disrupt Qin Xiaoqing. Naturally, the dragon breaths were not true dragon breaths. They were the manifestation of purple lightning saber qi. However, they were not weak at all. Occasionally, the lightning dragon breaths landed on the mountain peaks below. The 1-kilometer-tall peaks vanished in an instant, as if a monster had bitten them off. The lightning tribulation saber technique was boundlessly tyrannical. Every time Xiao Chun punched or sent out a palm strike, a saber light flashed. In the next moment, Lightning dragons appeared to block the overbearing Qin Shaoqing. True flame burned on Qin Shaoqing's sword. Every time he swung it, flames surged and surged, creating an intense explosion. It wasn't an exaggeration to describe that terrifying destructive power as earth-shattering. It shook the entire mountain range for hundreds of kilometers, causing countless boulders to tumble down. Seeing that the other party's lightning dragons seemed to be endless, able to block his sword moves every time, Qin Shaoqing frowned, unwilling to continue fighting like this. 9 suns rise together, the golden crow destroys the world. With a loud shout, the 25 kilometers of resplendent flames behind him quickly gathered and condensed into 9 three-legged golden crows. Each of the golden crows was as dazzling as the sun. Xiao Chen pointed with his sword, and the 9 huge flaming golden crows turned into 9 streaks of golden light that charged at the 100 lightning dragons. Kacha kacha! The golden crow was incomparably savage. With a swipe of its 3 legs, it tore the golden crows in half, causing them to wail endlessly. Xiao Chen's heart sank. The golden crow condensed by the other party's true life flame far surpassed his lightning dragon in terms of divine nature. It was the bane of lightning dragon. Divine lightning tribulation. Chop! With a thought, Xiao Chen quickly gathered the remaining lightning dragons. Then, the will of the purple lightning talisman continuously strengthened them. A golden bolt of divine lightning appeared in the air, and turned into a saber chi that chopped down at the 9 golden crows. The might of the divine lightning tribulation appeared on the spot, knocking the 9 sun-like golden crows back. The light of their flames dimmed significantly. This opportunity could not be missed. Xiao Chen took a step back, and his pupils constricted. The Soul Slayer bow appeared in his right hand. Then, he knocked the Starbreaker arrow and pulled back the bowstring. One dragon force circulated in Xiao Chen's body. His bones gave off a thunderous rumble. The infusion of 5,000 tons of force caused the Soul Slayer attack to release an overwhelming cold chi, immediately expelling the heat from the flaming golden crows. Qin Shaoqing's expression changed. As he looked at the bow in Xiao Chen's hand, he had a bad feeling. Xiao Chen sheathed his sword and circulated the law energy in his body, wanting to merge the 9 golden crows. Whoosh! However, he was too late in the end. Xiao Chen let go, and the Starbreaker arrow flashed with light. The 9 golden crows shot out and destroyed the killing move that Qin Shaoqing had spent a lot of effort on. Xiao Chen's lightning dragons were destroyed. However, this change also destroyed all 9 of Qin Shaoqing's golden crows. Qin Shaoqing did not gain an advantage either. The 2 in the sky fell into an anxious state once more. After exchanging a few moves, they knew how difficult it was to deal with the other party, so they became more cautious. Bai Lang stood beside Lin Yan and the others. He sighed and said, "Brother Xiao lacks a good saber. Otherwise he would not be in such a passive position. This Qin Shaoqing is really incredible. He is the first disciple of the Sword Sovereign. Indeed, he cannot be underestimated." Feng Xingxing shook his head. Xiao Chen, who was in the air, was clearly on the defensive against Qin Shaoqing's blazing barrage of attacks. He was at a disadvantage. The Inferno Saber Sovereign's disciple Lin Yan smiled and said, "As the saying goes, things that are too hard are easy to break. Although Qin Shaoqing's attacks are ferocious, if he still does not have a suppressive advantage after 100 moves, he will lose for sure." Bai Lang nodded and said, "That's right. The crucial thing now is whether Xiao Chen can last 100 moves or not. Without a weapon in his hand, he can only use his physical body to receive Qin Shaoqing's sword moves that contain the destructive attribute. No matter how strong his physical body is, there will come a time when he cannot hold on." Du Guju, who rarely spoke, did not think highly of Xiao Chen. He said sullenly, "It will be a little difficult. I think that Xiao Chen's body can no longer hold on. If he receives another 100 moves, he will definitely collapse. Using your physical body to receive 300 moves from me. Even if you have a body of steel, you should not be able to hold on now, right?" Qin Shaoqing showed a calm expression as he smiled coldly at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm, and he did not explain much. His physical body had already reached peak rank 3 sage body. Furthermore, he had consumed many divine materials to nourish his body. His physical body was no weaker than the blue-robed emperor's. Although the other party's attacks were tyrannical, and Xiao Chen's physical body was significantly injured, it would be impossible for Xiao Chen's physical body to collapse without at least 200 moves. Seeing that his words did not work, Qin Shaoqing snorted coldly, and his attacks became even more ferocious. In the blink of an eye, 50 moves had passed. The shock waves from 50 kilometers of the mountain range below broke off half of it. It was a frightening sight. Qin Shaoqing saw that Xiao Chen was still very lively, not showing any panic on his delicate face. Qin Shaoqing could not help feeling anxious. He was very clear on his own situation. His sword moves were tyrannical and unparalleled. Every move was a killing move. Every move could bring out the ferocious might of a volcano eruption. However, it exhausted a lot of energy as well. If he still could not take down Xiao Chen, he would really use up all the law energy in his body. At that time, no matter how capable he was, he would not be able to bring it out. He would only be able to sit and wait for death. I cannot afford to lose. Otherwise, I will lose too much face. I can only decide victory in one move. However, just at this moment, something strange happened. Xiao Chen, who had been on the defensive all this while, suddenly moved. Taking advantage of Qin Shaoqing's momentary panic, he charged over first. 18 blue dragons circled around Qin Shaoqing. A horrifying dragon might spread out, and many azure saber lights hacked down. This was Xiao Chen's strongest move, Flawless Blue Dragon, subduing dragon profound slash. The might that this move burst out with was actually no weaker than Xiao Chen's strong sword intent erupting like a volcano. Saber lights chopped down, a total of 18 saber lights. They chopped down continuously, not giving Qin Shaoqing any time to think or a chance to execute a killing move. When the final saber light landed, Qin Shaoqing's sword move was completely disrupted. He vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, deities descending, tenfold combat prowess. After much difficulty, Xiao Chen managed to catch the other party's weakness and catch him off guard, injuring him. How could he miss out on this opportunity to deal a fatal blow? Clang, clang. Just at this moment, 2 sword lights lit up in the sky. Sword intent connected to the soul as they charged at Xiao Chen without any warning. The timing of these 2 moves was very coincidental. They happened to be the instant Xiao Chen's body was enveloped by the divine light. Furthermore, they were fatal strikes from the 2 without holding anything back. Xiao Chen had already exhausted a lot of his energy. His physical body was severely injured. There was no way for him to dodge. The winner takes all. Xiao Chen, so what if you can endure, see through others, and have sharp eyes? I never said that I would fight you one-on-one. Qin Shaoqing smiled coldly. Then he quickly suppressed the injuries in his body. A vicious look flashed on his face. Then he charged at Xiao Chen. The 3 formed an encirclement. The situation instantly reversed. Xiao Chen, who had just gained the upper hand, was now in grave danger. The expressions of Bai Lang and the others changed drastically. Clearly, they had not expected the 2 to be so despicable. It was already too late to save Xiao Chen now. Elder brother Xiao Chen, just make your move. Bai, help me block these bad people. A fragrant wind blew in the chilly battlefield. A pretty figure rushed over at lightning speed. In the time it took for a spark to fly, she drew the sword at her waist. Immediately, snow-white feathers fluttered in the air. A sword light shook everyone's hearts, humming endlessly. With a casual move, it blocked Gu Jianheng's and Lu Kuan's killing moves. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. When he saw Qin Shaoqing's expression change, he said coldly, "To think that the Sword Sovereign's faction could produce trash like you. Today you not only embarrassed yourself but also the entire profound domain swordsman." Bang! The fearless Xiao Chen punched out with 10 dragon force. Boom! He sent Qin Shaoqing, who was charging over, flying, crashing into a mountain peak. The mountain peak crumbled, burying Qin Shaoqing with a loud rumble. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Gu Jianheng, Lu Kuan, you 2 bastards. Bring Qin Shaoqing and scram out of Heavenly Cauldron City. Bai Lang led Feng Xingxing and dozens of others over. Without saying anything, they surrounded Gu Jianheng and Lu Kuan, who Bai Lang had stopped, and beat them up. Since the other party broke the rules first, Bai Lang did not have to hold back. No matter how powerful the two were, they would only be asking for a beating. Gu Jianheng and Lu Kuan were beaten black and blue. The other party was the Sword Sovereign's faction. Bai Lang and the others didn't dare to kill them, but they couldn't help but suffer some physical pain. They had lost a lot of face this time. The two's original plan was to take down Xiaochen when he least expected it. Then, they would use their first senior brother's strength to sweep through the others. At that time, the winner would be the king, and the loser would be the thief. The world would only remember that Qin Shaoqing swept through the Saber Dao Tea party. No one would care about the two sneak attacks. Unexpectedly, Xiao Bai suddenly appeared. The Spirit Fox King's adopted daughter, who was originally with them, blocked them at the crucial moment. Yuan Shichen, you can forget about entering the Heavenly Sword Pavilion again. Chapter 965. Gu Jianheng said hatefully. Then, he led Lu Kuan to dig out Qin Shaoqing, who was buried in the mountain, and ran back in a sorry state. Bai did not mind. She smiled faintly and stood obediently behind Xiaochen. Brother Xiao, this tea party is all thanks to you. Bai Lang performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. Xiaochen replied calmly, Brother Bai, you are too polite. I like the atmosphere of the tea party. I benefited a lot from the tea party. If someone tries to cause trouble, I will naturally do my best. A thought occurred to Bai Lang. He suggested, how about we let Brother Xiao host the next Saber Dao Tea party? I'll let my master know. It should not be a problem. That's right. Brother Xiao, if we are still alive 10 years from now, you can host the next tea party. The others all started encouraging as well. They had no objections to Xiaochen hosting the tea party. On the contrary, they looked forward to it. When Xiaochen heard this, he could not help feeling tempted. However, after thinking for a while, he still rejected the idea. While hosting the tea party looked simple, it required a lot of effort and resources. It was too much of a hassle. Bai Lang smiled faintly and said, Don't be in a rush to reject me. If you are willing, you can come and look for me at any time. There are still some things that I need to deal with. I'll take my leave first. At this point, the tea party came to a rather satisfactory end. After the others said their goodbyes to Xiaochen, they left one after another. After everyone left, Xiaochen turned around and looked at Bai. After not seeing her for so many years, she had completely grown up. The youthful and inexperienced look of the past could no longer be found in this charming face that could bring disaster to nations. Amid her charming aura, there was now an air of nobility that could not be profaned. This was the status of the Fox King's adopted daughter. Whether she was willing or not, this gave her the status of a holy daughter in the fiend domain. Xiaochen felt somewhat distracted. Is this still the delicate and pure Bai from back then? Xiaochen casually glanced around and saw an exquisite gourd hanging at Bai's waist. Xiaochen couldn't help but smile. No matter how he changed, Bai would always be the same Bai. Hee, big brother Xiaochen, don't look at Bai like that. Bai blushed as she lowered her head. It was clear that after all these years of growth, she had a better understanding of the relationship between men and women. Xiaochen smiled gently and returned to his senses. Yuan Shichen, I heard Gu Jianheng call you by that name. Bai raised his head with a serious expression and said, Yes, this is the name my adoptive father gave me. From now on, only brother Xiaochen can call Bai. Xiaochen thought about it and agreed. When he was in the Sky Dome realm, it was fine for others to call him Bai. However, with Bai's current status, it would be a little inappropriate for others to call him Bai. Elder brother Xiaochen, you should treat your injuries first. There's no need to talk, Bai said worriedly when she thought of something. Indeed, every sword strike of Qin Shaoqing's destructive sword intent was like a volcano erupting. Its destructive power was startling. After receiving hundreds of moves, his physical body had already sustained significant injuries. 10 kilometers in the sky, Kong Yuan and Yuan Su stood on a white cloud. Kong Yuan smiled and said, That's true. I have not seen brother Xiaochen for a long time already. I'll go down and greet him first. Yuan Su pulled Kong Yuan back and said, Blockhead, do you think it is appropriate to go down and greet him now? What's wrong? Xiaochen saved my life in the Sage Mark Monument. Although I envy Xiao Chen as well, there is no need to make it so obvious, not even greeting him, Kong Yuan said in dissatisfaction. Helplessness appeared on Yuan Su's charming face. He could only call Kong Yuan an idiot in his heart. Then he said impatiently, "See for yourself. If you really go down, I believe that Shurchen will not speak to a blockhead like you for at least half a year." Kong Yuan looked carefully, and saw Xiao Chen sitting cross-legged on a distant peak, circulating his energy to treat his injuries. Bai supported his head with his hand, smiling gently at Xiao Chen. The scene was silent, giving off a warm and peaceful feeling. Kong Yuan suddenly startled awake. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "We can greet him at any time. There is no need for it now. However, after offending Qin Xiaoqing, it will be somewhat problematic to enter the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. If she does not want to enter, then so be it. For the sake of Xiao Chen, this girl will probably give up the divine weapon, much less the Heavenly Sword Pavilion," Yuan Su said with a smile. Kong Yuan chuckled and said, "Speaking of which, Yuan Su, why do I feel that your words are extraordinarily sour? This is not like you, the most handsome man of our fiend race." Yuan Su kept a straight face. After being poked at in his weak spot, he directly looked away, ignoring Yuan Su. When Xiao Chen finished circulating his energy to treat his injuries, he chatted with Bai for a while. He finally understood Bai's purpose in coming to the profound domain. The snow feather sword that Yin Shisan gave to Bai was very suitable for Bai. Unfortunately, it did not have an item spirit, so it could not become a peak subdivine weapon, much less a divine weapon. As Xiao Chen's strength increased, the snow feather sword's need to nurture an item spirit became urgent. Xiao Chen's purpose in coming to Sword Forging Peak was to ask Situ Leihong to nurture an item spirit for the snow feather sword. Situ Leihong agreed to help on the condition that Bai could make it into the top 10 of the sword school ranking, and give him the 10,000-year-old essence iron. Coincidentally, Xiao Chen's and Bai's goals were surprisingly similar. "Elder brother Xiao Chen, it has been almost 3 years. Why have you not gone to the fiend domain to visit Bai?" Bai said begrudgingly as she leaned on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Her eyes were somewhat red. It had been 3 years. Xiao Chen had clearly promised to visit Xiao Chen in the Kuanping King's grave palace. However, even after waiting for so long, Xiao Chen still did not come. At first, Xiao Chen occasionally heard news of Xiao Chen. Later, Xiao Chen went to the lower realm, and there was no news of him. Rumor had it that he died trapped in the Sage Mark Monument. Bai sneaked out and stood before the Sage Mark Monument, unable to enter. Who knew how many times he cried? If not for the Fox King obtaining news from the Hautian Emperor and going to the lower realm, Bai would still have to guard the Sage Mark Monument to the death, waiting for it to open again. Bai did not tell Xiao Chen about all this. All the anticipation and concern in her heart remained in her heart. However, now that they met again, she could not help telling Xiao Chen about it. Xiao Chen's heart ached. He did not know how to answer. While 3 years was a long time, to him, there had been no time to relax or rest at all. This was especially so after Ao Jiao's death, which made Xiao Chen feel even more guilty. Hence, he cultivated without eating or sleeping, unable to care about anything else. He only knew that Bai was doing very well at the Fox King's side, so he felt assured. Back then, the little fox on Seven-Horn Mountain beside Mo City had changed so much, even gaining strength equal to Xiao Chen's and the status of the Fiend Domain's holy daughter. "Sorry, Bai stopped crying and smiled. "Elder brother Xiao Chen, there is no need to say sorry. It is Bai's fault. Bai is too selfish. As long as elder brother Xiao Chen can be happy and I can hear news of elder brother Xiao Chen, Bai will be satisfied." A cool breeze blew without a shadow. Xiao Chen felt complicated emotions in his heart. After so many years, Xiao Chen thought that Bai, who had grown up, would slowly recognize his dependence on Xiao Chen and separate it from his feelings. Xiao Chen shook his head. Suddenly he thought of something. He said, "That's right. Where are Yuan Su and Kong Yuan? Didn't they come with you?" A crafty look flashed in Bai's eyes. She smiled mischievously and said, "That's right. Those two fellows are too overboard. When they saw elder brother Xiao Chen, they did not even greet me. I will teach them a lesson when I get back." "Elder brother Xiao Chen, tell me more about Qingyan Peak." Bai really wants to know how elder sister Ruyue and that elder brother Suifeng are doing now. 3 days later, all the cultivators in the inns of various sizes in Heavenly Cauldron City were discussing the various scenes from the tea party without exception, be it the 18 ancient saber sovereigns' speeches that transcended time and space, attracting a deluge of heavenly flowers, spreading for 50 kilometers around, be it the shocking battle between the first disciple of the Sword Sovereign and Xiao Qun, destroying the 50-kilometer mountain range. Everyone took delight in talking about it. They could talk about it for a month without feeling tired. This tea party would definitely be passed down for 10,000 years, leaving a deep mark in the long river of history. Haha. At that time you did not see it. Qin Shaoqing and the other two came with a threatening aura. Gu Jianheng forced back the Inferno Saber Sovereign with one sword strike, threatening to slap the Inferno Saber Sovereign's face. Who knew in the end? The three of them were beaten into a sorry state. Now the news has already reached the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. Now this group of swordsmen will not be able to raise their heads for half a year. I heard that the 18 ancient sages' speeches and the person who defeated Qin Shaoqing were all done by the Tianwu domain's white-robed Xiao Qun. Is that true? How can it be false? Several bladesmen at the tea party saw it with their own eyes. How could it be false? In the largest inn of Heavenly Cauldron City, there were no surprises. The idle bladesmen chatting in the inn all focused on the tea party 3 days ago. There were fewer cultivators on the 3rd floor. At a table by the window, Xiao Qun was busy writing, recording the various saber daos of the 18 saber sovereigns at the tea party. Xiao Qun's comprehension ability was startling, far surpassing that of all the bladesmen at that time. Hence he gained the most. Amid the overlapping sages, he memorized all 18 saber daos, not missing a single one. Of course, he only recorded them down and did not comprehend them on the spot. Furthermore, he had his own flawless saber dao. Even the saber dao of the ancients could only be used as a reference. However, while Xiao Qun did not need these saber daos, it did not mean that others did not need them. For example, the bloody young master Yi Chen cultivated the massacre saber dao. If Xiao Qun could give the ancient saber sovereign's comprehension of the massacre saber dao to him, it would be a huge favor, enough to make him wild with joy. On the other side of the table, Bai drank fine wine. Her pretty face flushed slightly as she quietly watched Xiao Qun, who was concentrating. After Xiao Qun finished recording the final set of the Heavenly Saber Dao, he heaved a sigh of relief. Then he glanced at Bai, who was across from him. Finding it strange, he asked, "Why have Yuan Su and Kong Yuan not appeared after 3 days?" Bai giggled and said, "Who knows? Those two are too evil. They caused elder brother Xiao Qun to accompany me for 3 days, not even having time to go to the 9 layers of purgatory. For the past 3 days, Xiao Qun had been with Bai. He worried that Bai would not be safe alone. In the past 3 days, Xiao Qun could only put aside what he was doing and wait for Yuan Su and Kong Yuan to appear. However, this wait lasted for 3 days. This made Xiao Qun somewhat anxious. "Elder brother Xiao Qun, how about you bring me to the 9 layers of purgatory?" Bai put down her wine gourd, appearing very obedient. Her eyes filled with anticipation as she said, "According to legend, the 9 layers of purgatory was the underworld of the immortal epoch. It controlled the 6 paths of reincarnation. Now the immortal epoch no longer exists, and the cycle of reincarnation is broken. It is a place that even the ghost race cultivators do not dare to enter. Bai will definitely be able to help elder brother Xiao Qun." Chapter 966. Xiao Qun could not help but regret telling Bai about going to the 9 layers of purgatory. He frowned and said, "Don't mention this. If the 2 of them still do not appear today, I will ask Bai Lang to look for them." "Haha. Brother Xiao, there is no need to send people to look for us. The 2 of us have actually been here for the past 3 days." Carefree laughter rang out. 2 cultivators wearing black cloaks sat at a table in a blind spot. The 2 removed their cloaks and arrived before Xiao Qun's table. It was Yuan Su and Kong Yuan. Xiao Qun raised his eyebrows as he looked at the black cloaks. He sent his spiritual sense over, but the image of the 2 cloaks did not appear in his mind. "Strange, I wonder what kind of cloaks these are." The two of them should have been relying on these cloaks to hide from my spiritual sense for the past 3 days. Brother Xiao, you seem to be treating Shurchen like a child. Don't be in a rush to reject me, Yuan Su said with some dissatisfaction after greeting Xiaochen. After greeting Xiaochen, Yuan Su picked up the wine cup on the table and drained it in one go. Xiaochen felt slightly confused, not understanding what Yuan Su meant. Kong Yuan revealed a bitter smile. You might not know this, but for the sake of catching up to you, Shurchen suffered a lot of injuries and suffered a lot. She experienced more life and death situations than Yuan Su and I did. Elder brother Xiaochen, stop. They are just spouting nonsense. Don't take it seriously. Bai quickly waved his hand, revealing an anxious expression. Yuan Su said coldly, why not? Is it really that easy to be the Fox King's adopted daughter? The spirit fox race has thousands of competitors. In order to stand out from the rest, one has to face a lot of killing and battles. Any mistake could result in a life and death separation. Even after becoming the Fox King's adopted daughter, she still cannot rest easy. She still has to fight for the position of Fiend King for the Spirit Fox race. The blood and sweat she put in is 1,000 times more than before. All this is just to catch up to a certain person. She puts in so much effort that she can keep up with a certain person. Every time she hears news of a certain person, she rejoices for a long time. Every time she hears that a certain person offended an enemy, she clenches her teeth and redoubles her efforts in cultivation. Maybe someone thinks that the adopted daughter of the Fox King is the same as a princess, receiving the respect of the world and enjoying boundless fortune. However, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world, especially when the strength of our demon race is declining year after year. Kong Yuan's face sank. He could tell that Yuan Su's emotions were somewhat unstable. He said sullenly, Yuan Su, Shurchen told you to stop talking. Did you not hear her? Yuan Su knew that he had made a slip of the tongue, so he continued drinking and did not say anything else. A smile appeared on Bai's face. Elder brother Xiaochen, it is not as exaggerated and scary as elder brother Yuan Su made it out to be. Adoptive father treats Bai very well. Bai did everything willingly. Xiaochen's heart was in turmoil, unable to speak for a long time. Who would have thought that back in the lower realm, after so many years, she had been working hard to remember what her parents said when they took her away. Bai said earnestly, even though I have the Fox King's will clone, it is useless. This time, I can really help elder brother Xiaochen. I also want to meet elder sister Ao Jiao. I want to see the day when the lunar shadow saber is unsheathed again. When Xiaochen saw the expression in Bai's eyes, some of the views that he had been firm in his heart for a long time started to waver. Xiaochen said, let's not talk about this for now. Bai, come over for a while. I have something to say to you alone. Now only Yuan Su and Kong Yuan remained at the table. The atmosphere turned somewhat silent. Kong Yuan drank a mouthful of wine and said, finding it strange, Yuan Su, others might not know, but don't you know the pressure of being a descendant of the Qing Emperor? Don't you know the danger that comes with admitting to it? Xiaochen does not want to meet with Bai, because he wants time to wear away Bai's reliance on him. He does not want his own danger to affect his family and friends. Why does everything sound so different when it comes from your mouth? You're not usually this kind of person. Yuan Su revealed a warm smile on his handsome and charming face. There was no longer any hatred or dissatisfaction from earlier. Blockhead, do you think that with Bai's persistence, time can wear away her reliance on Xiaochen? Of course not. Isn't that so? Rather than that, we might as well let Xiaochen truly accept Bai and give Bai a status. When Kong Yuan heard that, he could not help but laugh. He did not know if he was laughing at himself or at Yuan Su. How pitiful. The most handsome man of the fiend race has to be a matchmaker. After a while, Xiaochen and Bai returned. When they saw the smile on Bai's face, they felt both disappointed and happy. Kong Yuan muttered to himself, wondering if Yuan Su's provocation worked or not. The four discussed for a while, and decided to barge into the 9 layers of purgatory together. Then, they all left to make their various preparations for entering the 9 layers of purgatory. The next day, when the four gathered again, They set off on their journey to the 9 layers of purgatory. The 9 layers of purgatory was one of the forbidden lands that everyone in the Kunlun continent knew about. In terms of fame, it was even greater than the primal chaos domain's heavenly ruin wasteland. It rivaled the savage battlefield, perhaps even surpassed it. Before the 6 paths of reincarnation were broken during the immortal epoch, this place had been the netherworld, in charge of the cycle of reincarnation for all living beings. Rumor said that during that era, if one did not become an immortal, one would enter the cycle of reincarnation forever. Based on good and evil, one would be chosen to reincarnate. Those who were evil would be sent to the path of beasts. Those who were evil and ferocious would remain in hell forever, enduring all kinds of torture and torture. They would not even be beasts. Those who were good would be reincarnated as humans in their next life, becoming rich and noble, rising to the clouds. There were even people with great virtue who could enter the heavenly realm. They were born as innate life forms, nurtured by the heavens and the earth. They were known as heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. However, the immortal Tao was broken, and the martial luck flourished. Reincarnation no longer existed, and hell no longer existed. Only the 9 layers of purgatory remained. The truth of the past had already become a legend, and the legend had become a myth. In the current era, reincarnation no longer existed. There were no immortals in the world. Everyone could live only one life. No one believed in virtue anymore. 7 days later, Xiaoqin used the freedom wings to carry the 4 to a tall mountain in the ghost domain. This mountain was known as Mount Tai. The middle of the mountain already reached the clouds, so it was impossible to tell how tall it was. The mountain covered an area of 50 kilometers, looking boundlessly majestic. The surroundings of the mountain were very gloomy. Occasionally, one could see wandering spirits and wild ghosts wandering around. The 4 did not find this strange. The ghost domain lacked everything but wandering spirits and wild ghosts. They were already used to it. Although reincarnation no longer existed, after a person died, their soul still existed. A soul that lost its physical body would not exist for long in the world. Even someone as strong as Emperor Wu, who shone with dazzling light and could pluck the stars and moon from the sky, could not exist for long. Similarly, a soul would not exist for long. It would separate and naturally scatter. However, the ghost race had secret techniques that could capture the soul. After a person died, they refined the soul into all sorts of spirits, enslaving and controlling them. This made one unable to rest in peace after death, inspiring fear and loathing. It was just like the corpse race stealing corpses and digging graves. If not for their own strength, they would have been destroyed thousands of times already. At the foot of the mountain was a turbid river that flowed from the summit to the ground. This river was the famous Underworld River. It was also known as the Death River, the Yellow Springs River, or the River of Helplessness. However, it was no longer complete. The cycle of reincarnation shattered, and the source of this river, the profound river in the heavenly realm, broke into many pieces. Naturally, the Underworld River broke into many pieces as well. It was not good to lose all sorts of strange magic skills. If one followed this river, one would reach the 9 layers of purgatory. Several cultivators gathered at the riverbank. Aside from the ghost race cultivators, there were many cultivators of the other races. Several black ships floated in the river. Kong Yuan looked up at the tall mountain and said, "Is this the legendary Mount Tai? I heard that if one follows the river, one can reach the summit. There is a southern heavenly gate there. After passing the southern heavenly gate, one will reach the immortal world." Bai nodded and said, "I once heard adoptive father say that there is indeed a gate at the summit. The world behind the gate is indeed the immortal world. However, it is already a shattered world. Even a sovereign martial emperor would not be able to survive there for long." Yuan Su glanced at Xiao Chun and said meaningfully, "This is just a guess. As for what exactly it is, only those who have entered know. Unfortunately, since ancient times, it seems like only the Qing emperor walked out of there." Xiaoqin did not care. He smiled and said, "Don't look at me. The Xiao clan does not have any ancient records of what the Qing emperor saw in there." Kong Yuan said, "Let's not talk about this for now. Let's go to the ferry." After the sky turns dark, that group of ghost race cultivators will no longer receive guests. Although the 9 layers of purgatory was not a forbidden land, aside from the death chi and evil spirits that the ghost race liked, most of the inattributed flames in the world were born in the 9 layers of purgatory. Experts of the various races would often go to the 9 layers of purgatory to seek inattributed flames. Aside from inattributed flames, there were also several cold-attributed natural treasures that could only be found in the 9 layers of purgatory. Although the Forbidden Land was dangerous, there were always bold and skilled people who dared to seek riches in the midst of danger. Perhaps some cultivators came purely for experiential training, to see if they could comprehend something between life and death. If they were not careful and managed to dig up an immortal epic treasure, they would have been lucky. The 4 moved quickly. After a while, they arrived at the ferry. There was a complicated flow of people at the ferry. Initially, Xiaochen did not pay much attention to them. However, when he glanced around, he discovered a group of people wearing clothes that looked familiar. After thinking carefully, he recalled that they were the Medicine God Valley's people. Mr. Qin, who died at Xiaochen's hands, and the 2 Medicine God Valley cultivators who sought trouble for him in Leisure Feather City all wore similar clothes. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He had not expected to run into the Medicine God Valley's people here. Now that he had killed their Grandmaster-level alchemist, he would not be able to get away with it. The Medicine God Valley's alchemists were not strong. However, they had strong connections. Look at that group. The strongest ones were not from the Medicine God Valley. With one look, it was clear that they had invited help. One of them seemed to be a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. That person should be helping the Medicine God Valley's people collect the inattributed flames. According to the alchemy of the martial epoch, several medicinal pills required different flames to refine. Fortunately, this group of people had already boarded the ferry. The ferry sailed through the turbid yellow water, heading for the underworld land ahead. Kong Yuan stepped forward and called for a ferry. After paying a large number of astral coins, the ferryman wearing a conical bamboo hat happily set sail. The turbid yellow water gave off an unpleasant smell. Occasionally, one could see changing ghostly faces in the river, looking deep and terrifying. Chapter 967. Contrary to Xiaochen's expectations, Bai, who sat beside him, did not show any fear at all. Remaining as calm as usual, Xiaochen felt a pang in his heart. He could not help grabbing Bai's hand tightly. He wondered what this girl had experienced in the past few years. Bai giggled and let Xiaochen hold her hand, gently leaning on his shoulder. Although the underworld river had lost its various miraculous magic skills, its nature still remained. If one fell into it, one would immediately be corrupted and corroded. No secret treasure in the world could protect one. The river also contained a demonic nature. One could not fly on it. Otherwise, one might fall into it for no reason. Only the specter ship forged by the ghost race could travel on it. This resulted in the fact that the ghost race controlled the entrance to the 9 layers of purgatory. Anyone who went there would have to pay a large amount of black astral coins. The specter ship quickly left the surface. The bow of the ship turned completely dark. The air was filled with flickering, phosphorescent lights, all of which were wandering spirits. When Xiaochen looked up, he saw many skulls piled up on stone pillars. As the ship traveled on the water, it passed through the bodies of these wandering spirits, giving off an intense life force. The moment the ship touched a wandering spirit, it immediately scattered it into nothing. During the immortal epoch, this land of the netherworld had been divided into the netherworld and the netherworld. Once one crossed this place, one would be in the netherworld. However, if one could not cross this place, one would be trapped here, unable to return to the world of the living or reincarnate, drifting here forever. Suddenly, Xiaochen felt that something was wrong. The specter ship stopped moving and stopped in the river. Kong Yuan's expression changed slightly. He gestured to Yuan Su and asked the boatman in a thick cloak, "Why are you stopping? We have not reached the 9 layers of purgatory yet." "We can't reach it yet. We will just retire here. Then we will turn into wandering spirits and drift for the rest of our lives." The boatman sat at the bow and did not turn his head back. Only a hoarse voice came from within. Now the expressions of Bai and the other two changed. They all circulated their law energy, preparing to snatch the ship at any time. Xiaochen remained calm and said in a deep voice, "You're trying to extort money, right? I've long heard that some black-hearted boatmen will sail their boats to the netherworld, a place where there is no way out or out, and take the opportunity to extort money." "Hehe, extorting money? Young Master Xiao, young Master Xiao, you are the ancestor of this aspect." A tender laugh was heard, and the cloak on the boatman's body exploded, revealing a delicate figure in a white dress. The woman turned around and smiled. It was the ghost race's Qingcheng. Xiaochen's expression didn't change, but he cursed in his heart. Why did he run into this woman here? A cocky smile appeared on Qingcheng's breathtakingly beautiful face. "Jiang Qingzi told me that the few of you were coming to the ghost domain. I thought it was fake news. Unexpectedly, you really dared to come. Aren't you very capable? Let's see how you're going to resolve this situation today. You're going to toy with me in the palm of your hand." Pa. Qingcheng patted the ship with her palm, and countless small holes immediately appeared at the bottom of the ship. Then the specter ship slowly sank. Yuan Su and Kong Yuan instantly attacked, charging at this woman. However, Qingcheng merely smiled and floated up gently. 8 spirits carrying a palanquin flew out. Then, Qingcheng pulled open the curtains. Qingcheng pulled open the curtains and sat down. Then she looked at the slowly sinking specter ship through the window. Yuan Su and Kong Yuan quickly retreated. Qingcheng had the 8 ghost palanquin. If she dared to fly on it, they would not dare to cross the underworld river. That way they would die even faster. Gurgle. Gurgle. The river bubbled as the specter ship continued to sink. When the ship completely sank, it would be the end of everyone. Aside from Emperor Wu's indestructible golden body, no matter how strong one's physical body was, one would not be able to survive in the Yellow Springs water. Even Xiaochen was no exception. Yuan Su and Kong Yuan's expressions turned grave. What should we do? At this crucial moment, everyone looked at Xiaochen at the same time. Bai said calmly, "I'll activate Adoptive Father's will clone. Given the strength of Adoptive Father's will clone, it should be able to escort us to the 9 layers of purgatory." Naturally, the Dark World could not trap the Fox King's will clone. However, what would they do when they returned? Furthermore, the will clone was something that the Fox King had given to Bai to protect his life. How could Xiaochen use it at this moment? Hence, Xiaochen rejected the idea without any explanation. The true solution lay with Qingcheng, who was in the 8 ghost palanquin. Xiaochen's thoughts were very sharp. If this Qingcheng really wanted to kill them, she could have caused the specter ship to sink without anyone noticing, not even giving them a chance to use the will clone. She must be plotting something. As long as they did not obtain what they wanted, they would be safe. Young Master Xiao, you are born to toy with others. You did not expect such a day to come, right? I won't waste words with you. If you want to enter the 9 hells purgatory alive, and come out alive, then return to me double the spirit vein and star coins you extorted last time. Indeed, Qingcheng, who was in the 8 ghost palanquin, felt that victory was within her grasp. After looking for a while, she made her request. She did not think that Xiaochen had any room to bargain. I wonder if this supreme-grade spirit vein is enough. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and pushed. A peak spirit vein in his universe ring turned into a dragon and flew towards Qingcheng. Top-grade spirit vein. Yuan Su and Kong Yuan were startled. Xiaochen was really willing to part with a peak spirit vein just like that. However, at this moment, preserving his life was more important. It was understandable that he was willing to part with a peak spirit vein. The expression of Qingcheng, who was in the palanquin, clearly changed. It was much more valuable than some king-grade secret treasures. Only king-grade sects and holy lands could casually take it out. To think that Xiaochen's expression did not change as he took out a peak spirit vein. He was really bold. However, Qingcheng was a ghost race cultivator after all. Although a spirit vein was good, it was not very meaningful to her. A light flashed around the palanquin. A crack opened in the 8 ghost spirit locking defense formation, allowing the spirit vein to flow in. Then it quickly mended. A brilliant light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. He saw all this, but his expression did not change. A peak spirit vein is very valuable. However, Xiao Chun, you should know what I truly want. Give it to me. Not only will I ensure that you will be unobstructed on this trip, but I can also send people to help you. Qing Cheng said slowly, not in a rush to collect the spirit vein. Naturally, she was referring to the death throne. The rumbling sounds intensified. Xiao Chun and the other three were already hovering in the air, doing their best to reduce the weight of the specter ship. The rumbling grew louder. Xiao Chun and the other three were already hovering in the air, doing their best to reduce the weight of the specter ship. However, they still could not stop the ship from sinking. The situation was critical. They needed to make a decision. Xiao Chun waved his hand to stop by, who wanted to activate the Fox King's will clone. Then he thrust out the cycle banner. Dense death chi mixed with starlight spread throughout the entire banner pole. I refine the death throne, massacre throne, and ruin throne into this astral banner. If you want them, then take them. When the calm Qing Cheng saw the cycle astral banner slowly fly over, her heart could not help but pound wildly. 3 thrones. Xiao Chun actually collected 3 thrones. Very well. After I verify that there is no mistake, I will bring you and your friends out of this underworld land. Qing Cheng stretched out her hand, and the 8 ghost spirit locking defense formation on the 8 ghost palanquin opened a crack. Then she tried to put the cycle banner in. However, just at this moment, something strange happened. A pair of pure white wings unfurled behind Xiao Chun. He took a step forward, and his body turned into a beam of spiritual light. In the next moment, he arrived before Qing Cheng in the palanquin. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly, not giving Qing Cheng any chance to react. You. Qing Cheng's expression changed drastically as she quickly retreated. However, how could Xiao Chun dodge so easily after storing up power for this attack? Xiao Chun stretched out a finger and tapped Qing Cheng's forehead. A strong saber chi immediately flowed into Qing Cheng's meridians. A cold chi assaulted Qing Cheng, and sharp saber chi circled around all the vital points in her body continuously. As long as Xiao Chun willed it, he could immediately kill Qing Cheng. Xiao Chun put away the freedom wings on his back and waved his hand. He happened to catch the cycle banner, which had arrived a step too late, in his palm. He slowly withdrew his hand, and a crystalline flower appeared on Qing Cheng's forehead. Qing Cheng looked around, not daring to act rashly. Xiao Chun looked around and sighed to himself. This palanquin was much larger than he expected. This was especially so when there was a soft white bed in the back. Xiao Chun casually put away the spirit vein floating in the air. Then he sat on the soft bed and smiled gently. Miss Qing Cheng, you are really enjoying yourself. This palanquin is indeed comfortable. Qing Cheng's back faced Xiao Chun. She felt hatred and regret in her heart. She blamed herself for being too greedy. She wanted to obtain the death throne and drown this fellow. If she had just drowned this fellow, such a thing would not have happened. Now this fellow would be able to counter her. When Qing Cheng heard Xiao Chen's words, she scolded, "Bastard! If you have the guts, then kill this lady. The specter ship will sink soon. None of your friends will survive. The wings on your back should have some restrictions in this dark underworld land, right? Otherwise, you would have fled with your friends long ago." Flying was not allowed in the underworld river. Naturally, Xiao Chun did not dare to take the risk. The freedom wings used the power of space. However, as Qing Cheng said, there were indeed great restrictions here. The dark underworld was dark. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense could not see beyond a kilometer. When the magic skill so close yet worlds apart appeared before him, everything beyond a kilometer was dark. He did not dare to use it at all. Seeing that Xiao Chen did not say anything, Qing Cheng felt reassured. Given Xiao Chen's character, he would absolutely not abandon his friends. She still had the capital to negotiate with him. What's wrong? I guess correctly. The specter ship can last for at most 10 minutes. Xiao Chun, after all your scheming, you still failed at the last step. If you have the guts, then kill me immediately. The life and death of your friends will depend on a single thought. Xiao Chun smiled gently, unconcerned. Then he flicked his finger, and Qing Cheng felt her body turn cold. Qing Cheng's white dress slid off, revealing her jade-white back. Only a red doo-doo and underwear remained. Qing Cheng's face, which had just regained some confidence, now flushed red. She felt extremely bashful as she scolded. Xiao Chen, you shameless, lecherous, despicable person. Xiao Chen smiled softly and lay down on the large bed. Then he smiled nonchalantly and said, "This bed is really extraordinarily big. It is too much of a waste to sleep on one person. I feel that I should sleep on one more person in the future." Qing Qing raged in her heart. She wished that she could immediately chop Xiao Chen in half. However, the crystalline flower on her forehead prevented her from moving at all. She regretted as much as she could. She should not have offended this fellow at all. Chapter 968. Despicable. Despicable. Shameless. Qing Cheng said through clenched teeth, her voice trembling somewhat. Xiao Chen flicked his finger again, and Qing Cheng's doo-doo instantly slipped off, scaring her into silence. Xiao Chen did not know what the scenery in front was like, nor was he in any mood to look. He said coldly, "Not going to speak anymore? Very well, I'll speak. I'll only ask you one thing. Will you still use your friends to threaten me?" Most of the specter ship had already sunk. When Bai and the other two saw Xiao Chen charge into the 8-ghost palanquin, joy appeared on their faces. However, the 8-ghost palanquin did not move for a long time. The specter ship sank deeper and deeper. It looked like it would sink completely soon. Their expressions turned grave again. Bai said sullenly, "Elder brother Xiao Chen, something must have happened. There is no more time to wait. I'm going to activate my will clone." Yuan Su waved his hand to stop him. "Wait a little longer. Xiao Chen is not someone who would casually make a move just because he is confident. However, if we continue waiting, we will sink completely." Before Bai could finish speaking, a white light flashed in front. The 8-ghost palanquin swallowed up the three of them while the specter ship remained silent. The three of them landed on the palanquin. Xiao Chen and Qing Cheng stood side by side. Qing Cheng had already put on some clothes. Her pretty face was filled with frustration. There was an ice flower mark on her forehead, looking exceptionally eye-catching. Xiao Chen stood upright with a smile on his face. His expression was calm, without any fluctuations. Confusion filled Kong Yuan's face. He could not understand what was going on. Qing Cheng, who hated Xiao Chen to the bone earlier, was now standing together with Xiao Chen for no reason. "What's going on? This is..." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "It's nothing. Miss Qing Cheng was just joking with everyone earlier. This palanquin has been temporarily given to us. Furthermore, it will travel with us." "Is that true?" Naturally, the three did not believe it. Even Bai looked at Qing Cheng suspiciously, feeling that something was wrong. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he glanced at Qing Cheng. Qing Cheng smiled embarrassedly and said, "Oh, this young lady has never been a bandit before. When I saw my old friend Xiao Chen, I could not help but crack a joke. Haha, please don't mind me." Regardless of whether he believed it or not, the 8-ghost palanquin moved freely under Xiao Chen's control, flying toward the other side of the netherworld. Along the way, Zhang Xian passed through thousands upon thousands of wandering souls, as if there was no one there. Inside the palanquin, Kong Yuan looked at the scene flashing by outside the window and clicked his tongue in wonder. The 8-ghost palanquin truly lives up to its reputation. It can even fly above the netherworld river. As expected of a secret treasure refined by the ghost empress Shisun, Yuan Su thought of something and asked, "I heard that the ghost empress Shisun's strength has soared in recent years. She has been trying to compete with the mountain monarch for the position of the ghost domain's lord. I wonder if they have fought." The mountain monarch was the lord of the ghost domain, the Dongyue ghost emperor. However, most people referred to him as the mountain monarch. Only the ghost race liked to use his full title. Qing Qing glanced at Yuan Su and said in surprise, "This by face of yours seems to know a lot. However, whether they fought or not, what does that have to do with you? Why are you asking so much?" The other party was Xiao Chen's friend, so Yuan Su could not lose his temper. He could only endure the rage burning on his fair face. This caused Kong Yuan, who was at the side, to laugh involuntarily. Suddenly, when Qing Cheng saw Xiao Chen, she frowned slightly. Then she smiled apologetically and said, sorry. This young lady usually speaks like this. Young Master Yuan, please don't blame me. Master's strength has indeed soared greatly. However, there is still a gap between him and the Ghost Emperor. Why would I invite trouble by fighting with him? Xiao Chen, who had been controlling the 8 ghost palanquin, suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. Earlier, he seemed to have overtaken the Medicine God Valley's specter ship. On the underworld river in the Medicine God Valley's rented specter ship, this group of people stood at the bow of the ship. 6 people from the Medicine God Valley had come. One of them was an alchemist, and the others were cultivators that the Medicine God Valley nurtured themselves. They were all Grandmaster-level martial sages. As for the other 3 people who were not from the Medicine God Valley, their cultivations were even more incredible. They were only a step away from great Grandmaster-level martial sages. After several hundred years of cultivation, they could advance at any time. The person leading this group was a bona fide great Grandmaster-level martial sage. His name was Gongsun Hualong. Clearly, the group of 9 centered around the alchemist. This person's name was Wei Tao, and people called him Mr. Wei. He was one of the 3 Grandmaster-level alchemists of the Medicine God Valley. His alchemy ability and strength were even higher than Mr. Qin's. As Mr. Wei watched the 8 ghost palanquin fly over his head, a greedy look flashed in his eyes. 8 ghost palanquin. If we could use this palanquin, our chances of collecting the icy snow flame would increase by 50%. Unfortunately, everyone knew what he meant even without saying. The 8 ghost palanquin was made by the Ghost Empress Shisun. In the ghost domain, no one would dare to offend the Ghost Empress Shisun by targeting the 8 ghost palanquin. Even after leaving the ghost domain, everyone would have to give the 8 ghost palanquin some face. Someone said, Mr. Wei, there is no need to worry. With Senior Gongsun here, collecting the icy snow flame will be a piece of cake. Gongsun Hualong, who had been resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, It will not be that easy. The icy snow flame is one of the top 5 inattributed flames. It was born at the Last Breath Lake. I wonder what kind of powerful ghost is guarding it. Mr. Wei smiled and said, Mr. Gongsun, don't be too pessimistic. Before this old man came here, I already found a soul-slaying mirror. I can use it to kill spirits and ghosts. Soul-slaying mirror? Gongsun Hualong's expression froze for a while. Then he said, It should be a replica. If it is the real deal, then we will have 100% chance of success. Mr. Wei nodded. Although it is a replica, it is still of a high grade. As long as we are careful, there should be no problem. The 8 ghost palanquin flew for an hour, passing through a foggy area. The scene before them changed drastically, and they could no longer see the underworld river. After flying for another hour, Xiao Chen noticed that he had exhausted too much magic energy. So he put away the 8 ghost palanquin, and formally entered the 9 layers of purgatory. The sky was boundlessly dark. A broken black sun hung in the distant horizon, not giving off any heat. Spatial tiers could be seen everywhere. It seemed like there was a small world in them, showing all sorts of terrifying scenes. The ground was covered in soft black sand. The black desert stretched as far as the eye could see. At the limits of Xiao Chen's vision, there were some ancient palaces indistinctly visible, like illusions. This place was silent, so quiet that it was scary. As a member of the ghost race, Qingcheng was no stranger to this 9 layers of purgatory. She pointed to the desert below her and said, This is the mute desert. During the immortal epoch, this was the first layer of hell, the tongue-pulling hell. It specialized in punishing those who were glib-tongued, slanderous, sowing dissension, and deceiving. There is an immortal pair of scissors known as the Flood Dragon Scissors. They stretch the tongues of these talkative people for 50 kilometers. Depending on their crimes, they cut them into as many pieces as they wanted. Every cut would cause them to feel so much pain that they wished they were dead. For the more serious crimes, they had to be cut into millions of pieces. It would take at least 100 years before they could be reincarnated. So don't speak too much here. The mute ghosts underground hate hearing people speak the most. Qingcheng appeared serious as she explained the various aspects of the mute desert in detail. When the group heard this, their hair stood on end, and their expressions changed. Xiaochen showed a blank expression, not feeling anything. This was the martial epoch. The 6 paths of reincarnation had already shattered long ago. The ghosts and deities of hell no longer existed. No matter how horrifying hell was, it had nothing to do with them. You know how to get to the Yellow Springs Road, right? Ing Qiong had helped Xiaochen ask around. As long as he found the Yellow Springs Road, he would be able to find the Permitha flowers and the 3 life stone. The Permitha flowers bloomed on both sides of the Yellow Springs Road. They were fiery red everywhere, making them very easy to find. As for the 3 life stone, it was at the end of the Yellow Springs Road, beside the Bridge of Helplessness. As for where the soul returning grass was, Xiaochen did not know. Originally, he had intended to ask the other ghost race cultivators. Now that Qing Cheng was here and the other party agreed to help, it would not be a problem. When Qing Cheng heard the words Yellow Springs Road, her expression changed slightly. She pulled Xiaochen to the side and said sullenly, "Yellow Springs Road. You actually want to go to the Yellow Springs Road? Didn't you say that you were only looking for the soul-returning grass?" Xiaochen said calmly, "I did not say that I was only looking for the soul-returning grass. I only asked you how to find the soul-returning grass." Qing Cheng said hatefully, "If the 18 layers of hell were still around, you would have to spend 100 years in the hell of tongue pulling. You would not dare to speak in your next life. I definitely will not go to the Yellow Springs Road. If you want to go, you can go by yourself." Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "Liar. The one who should go to hell is you. You agreed to come with me and help me obtain what I want. That was why I decided to let you off and lend you the cycle banner for 3 months. You have to go to the Yellow Springs Road even if you don't want to." Before Qing Cheng could reply, Xiaochen turned and left. Qing Cheng clenched her teeth in hatred. However, when she touched the cold flower mark on her forehead, she could not do anything about it. "Elder brother Xiaochen, what's wrong with your friend? Is she not going to help us anymore?" Bai asked worriedly as she looked into the distance at Qing Cheng, who was kicking the sand continuously. Kong Yuan also looked over curiously. If they had Qing Cheng's help, the danger of this trip would be significantly reduced. Yuan Su frowned and said, "This woman is very strange. Furthermore, she is the Ghost Empress disciple. I don't think she is reliable. We should go by ourselves." "Bai, you look very fair and clean, but you have a bad habit of speaking ill of people behind their backs. When have I ever said anything bad about you?" A cold wind blew, and Qing Cheng silently arrived beside Xiaochen. Xiaochen was not surprised that Qing Cheng had returned. After he consoled Yuan Su, he said, "How do we get to the Yellow Springs Road? Tell everyone." Originally, after leaving the underworld and passing the gates of hell, the Yellow Springs Road is the Yellow Springs Road. Unfortunately, the 6 paths of reincarnation shattered, and the entire abyssal underworld fell into chaos. Who knows how many spaces it shattered into? The gates of hell also moved to another location, to the center of the 8th layer, Last Breath Lake. Last Breath Lake. There was a saying that when one breathed one's last breath, one would die without a doubt. That was one of the few dangerous places in the 9 layers of purgatory. No wonder Qing Cheng was unwilling to go. Boom. Just at this moment, a pitch-black flood dragon spirit suddenly flew out from the distance. Black sand fell from the sky as it reared its head back and roared ferociously. It seemed like someone was fighting with it. The silence of the mute desert was immediately broken. The entire desert suddenly started moving, and countless spirits leaped out. Chapter 969. Qing Cheng's expression did not change. She summoned out the black and white soul reapers with one hand. The moment the black and white soul reapers appeared, the spirits around Xiaochen and the others all retreated in fear. "Our luck is pretty good. We just arrived at the 1st layer of purgatory, and we already ran into someone who wanted to subdue this flood dragon scissors. We will probably be delayed for a while," Qing Cheng said casually, not finding this strange. However, Xiaochen started thinking. The people from the Medicine God Valley should have already left the underworld. If they delayed for too long, it would be problematic if they ran into them. With one glance, Xiaochen could tell that the people from the Medicine God Valley were elites. Furthermore, they even had a great grandmaster-level martial sage leading them. Not to mention the fact that they were heading to the Yellow Springs Road now, which was not a good time to start a pointless battle. Even if they ran into each other, they would have to run as far away as possible. Roar, roar, roar. The black desert looked like clouds hanging upside down in the sky. The pitch-black flood dragon spirit spat out demonic flames, baring its fangs and claws as it started a startling battle with that person. Its roar shook the surroundings. The dragon roar did not stop, reaching Xiaochen's ears. He could not help but look over. Why were their dragon roars overlapping? Xiaochen did not find it strange that the flood dragon spirit could roar. The person fighting the flood dragon seemed to be able to roar as well. This piqued Xiaochen's curiosity. Furthermore, Xiaochen found the dragon roar of that person somewhat familiar. However, he was too far away, and his spiritual sense could only extend 1 kilometer, so he could not figure it out. The spirits that flew out of the ground obeyed the flood dragon's ferocious roar, and leaped towards it. Kong Yuan felt suspicious and asked, "Is this flood dragon really formed by that immortal scissors?" Originally, when Qing Cheng said that this was the tongue-pulling hell, and that there were immortal scissors, Kong Yuan thought it was a joke. Now that he saw the might of this flood dragon, it seemed like she was telling the truth. Naturally, it is real. However, it is no longer a treasure. After the immortal Dao died, its divine nature and immortal might no longer exist. It is now just an ordinary treasure. Once, Emperor Wu collected a flood dragon out of curiosity. Then he casually gave it to his disciple. Now only some great grandmaster-level martial sages have designs on this flood dragon. Even the blue-robed emperor does not care about it. Seeing that Kong Yuan did not believe her, Qing Qing casually explained. Xiaochen muttered to himself, "Let's go. We can't keep waiting here. If it's just a great grandmaster, we can just charge through." After Xiaochen spoke, he took the lead. Bai and Yuan Su followed closely behind. Qing Qing stomped her feet, and had no choice but to follow as well. None of them were slow, moving as fast as lightning. In less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, the battle between the black flood dragon and the human appeared in Xiaochen's vision. The one fighting the black flood dragon was a burly middle-aged ghost clan martial artist. As he raised his hands and feet, 10 heaven dragons faintly appeared behind him. When he punched out, there was an earth-shattering sound, causing the desert to surge into the sky like waves. The black flood dragon, on the other hand, was even more brutal. Vicious energy surged into the sky as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws, roaring in rage. Xiaochen finally understood why the sound of that ghost clan martial artist's punches sounded so familiar. Like Xiaochen, the other party's physical strength reached 5,000 tons of force, forming dragon energy. However, this person's cultivation was much higher than Xiaochen's, already reaching 10 dragon force. A casual punch from this person contained more than 50 million tons of force. This was a great grandmaster-level martial sage of the physical body. A rather horrifying feat. Hundreds of figures moved around the periphery of the battlefield, blocking the spirits flying over, preventing them from interfering with the ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage. Although these spirits were not strong, barely equal to inferior-grade martial sages, there were too many of them. If they all charged over at once, even a great grandmaster-level martial sage would find it somewhat problematic. Whoosh! 7 or 8 figures descended with strong winds, blocking Xiaochen's path. Stop! The 2 leaders had pale skin and unconcealable death chi. The other 5 were all solid spirits. Xiaochen's eyelids twitched. These spirits were of high ranks. Furthermore, there were 5 of them. These people had significant backgrounds among the noble clans. My master's battle with this evil flood dragon has reached a critical moment. There is no room for anything unexpected to happen. Would you all please delay for a while? The yellow-clad person on the right said. Xiaochen took a look. The other party's battle had indeed reached a critical moment. The flood dragon would not be able to hold on for much longer. If they rushed over, it would be hard to avoid these people's suspicions. Never mind, I can only wait for a while. Xiaochen did not care about the 2 people before him. However, the ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage, who could casually send out 10 dragon force, was not someone to be trifled with. Suddenly, the black-clad cultivator on the left looked at Qing Cheng. A murderous intent immediately filled his eyes. Attack! These people were sent by the Ghost Empress disciple to cause trouble. Kazuye. However, right after that black-clad cultivator spoke, a saber hum rang out. Xiaochen moved even faster. The instant that black-clad cultivator's expression changed, he attacked at lightning speed. A bright moonlight shot out from his fingertip. This was the flawless bright moon of the flawless saber Dao. The saber light flashed, and the black-clad cultivator turned into a headless corpse. Bai Yuan Su and the other two quickly made their moves. When they worked together, they dealt with the other yellow-clad cultivator in an instant. Since their masters were already dead, the 5 strong spirits behind them naturally could not exist for long. They turned into motes of light and disappeared. Qing Cheng had an innocent expression as she muttered, "These are the people of the Ghost Monarch's faction. I already said to delay for a while before coming. However, you did not listen. You can't blame me for this." Xiaochen looked around and happened to meet the gaze of the ghost race cultivator in the air. He felt an extremely dense killing intent. Xiaochen's expression did not change as he said calmly, "Attack! Eliminate all the people in the surroundings." Xiaochen had never been an indecisive person. Since they already shed all pretense of cordiality, there was no need to explain anything. If one wanted to live, it was better to save oneself than to beg others. Along the way, Xiaochen had already become the backbone of the group. Without saying anything else, Bai and the other two split up and started to eliminate the ghost race cultivators, helping to block the spirits. Qing Cheng was slightly stunned. She had not expected Xiaochen to be so decisive. He did not waste any time at all, even if he was about to face the rage of a great grandmaster-level martial sage. She felt a chill in her heart for some reason. Making an enemy out of such a person was truly scary. Then Qing Cheng glanced at the ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage fighting the evil flood dragon. A smile appeared on her face as she said, "Martial Uncle Mo, sorry. Qing Cheng really did not do it on purpose." Yuan Su and Kong Yuan were outstanding talents taught by sovereign martial emperors. The Fox King had high hopes for Bai, a genius nurtured as the next Fiend King. Furthermore, there was Xiaochen. Without a great grandmaster-level martial sage, no one could stop such people. As the flood dragon roared ferociously, the spirits covered the sky and launched themselves at the ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage. The pressure on the flood dragon immediately lessened. The ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage showed a ferocious expression. His skin split open and blood flowed out. Every time he punched, 15 heaven dragons roared ferociously. This was a startling 15 strands of heaven dragon force. Junior, quickly stop. Otherwise, this 9 layers of purgatory will be your burial ground. The thunderous voice reverberated in the surroundings, containing a boundless killing intent. Xiaochen ignored the voice. He was not a fool. If he really stopped, there would be no chance of survival. Xiaochen could only let the spirits completely destroy this person and delay him. Only then would everyone have a chance of survival. Otherwise, no one here could receive more than 10 moves from a great grandmaster-level martial sage that could erupt out with 15 strands of heaven dragon force. After about 7 minutes, the remaining ghost race cultivators either fled or died. All the openings opened up. The overwhelming number of spirits was like a sea drowning the ghost race great grandmaster-level martial sage. The evil flood dragon roared happily and swung its tail. It quickly broke free and circled around in the air before burrowing into the ground. The 5 gathered together, all of them more or less injured. Xiaochen rejoiced. Fortunately, he brought Bai and the other 2. Otherwise, he would not have been able to deal with such a situation alone. "Elder brother Xiaochen, can we go now?" Bai asked as he put away the snow feather sword. The others also looked over, waiting for his answer. Xiaochen's expression changed as he glanced at the black flood dragon descending to the ground. He said, "Qing Cheng, bring them away first. I'll follow later." The expressions of the others changed slightly. Qing Cheng exclaimed in shock, "You can't be thinking of targeting this black flood dragon spirit, right? No matter how weak the Black Flood Dragon is, it is still as strong as a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. Xiaochen said calmly, "Don't worry. I'm confident. This Black Flood Dragon spirit is severely injured. This is the best opportunity." Even though Xiaochen said that, no one knew how strong the Black Flood Dragon spirit's final counterattack would be. No one knew what would happen to the ghost race old man, who was surrounded by the sea-like spirits. If anything went wrong, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. "Qingcheng, do as I say. I have the freedom wings. It will be easy for me to catch up to you." A pair of wings unfurled on Xiaochen's back. He shouted, and his aura spread out. His long hair fluttered, and his figure became like a bright saber light. With one step, he arrived where the Black Flood Dragon spirit landed. "Let's go." Qingqing did not say anything more. She led Yuan Su and the others to the next layer of purgatory. When the evil Flood Dragon spirit saw that someone dared to block it, it roared ferociously. The sound waves hurt Xiaochen's eardrums. From top to bottom, the dragon might was terrifyingly dense. If a low-ranked cultivator were here, just the dragon might alone would be enough to crush them into dust. Naturally, Xiaochen did not fear the dragon might. In the process of visualizing the Xiao clan's ancestor subduing dragons with his bare hands for the dragon subduing / Xiaochen had already gained a deep comprehension of the words dragon subduing. Xiaochen had even creatively merged all 13 moves of the Xiao clan's dragon subduing / forming the flawless blue dragon, and the dragon subduing profound / Just at small perfection, Xiaochen could easily kill a Grandmaster-level martial sage. If it reached great perfection, it would be even more incredible. With the heart of subduing dragons, Xiaochen did not fear the dragon might. The one that should fear was the evil flood dragon spirit. Xiaochen stomped on the ground with both of his feet. One after another, azure dragons floated around his body. There was a total of 18 of them. Auspicious clouds covered every blue dragon, causing a strong wind to blow. Dragon might spread for 5 kilometers around. Roar. The blue dragons roared ferociously in unison. The layered dragon might instantly overwhelmed the dragon might of the flood dragon spirit. Chop. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and waved his hand at the sky. The 18 azure dragon images turned into saber chi that reached the sky and the ground. Then, they chopped down at the descending evil flood dragon spirit. The saber chi flying over seemed to be able to split the sky in half. The 18 saber chi linked together. The moment the first saber chi chopped down, the second one followed. Chapter 970. Bang, bang, bang. All the saber chi struck the flood dragon spirit at nearly the same time. Strands of black resentment spread out from the flood dragon spirit's body. The subduing dragon profound / nearly scattered this ferocious spirit, causing it to wail miserably in the air. Xiaochen heaved a sigh of relief. Executing the subduing dragon profound / so quickly exhausted him significantly. However, Xiaochen rejoiced in his heart. It looked like he had made the right bet. The ghost race's great grandmaster-level martial sage had severely injured this flood dragon spirit, and was now very weak. Otherwise, given that it was as strong as a great grandmaster-level martial sage, the subduing dragon profound / would not have been able to inflict so much damage on it. The flood dragon spirit's eyes glowed red as it looked at Xiaochen in despair. Then, it let out a sorrowful roar, and turned into a beam of black light charging at him. Xiaochen's heart sank as he quickly dodged. This was the other party's final counterattack before death. The final counterattack of a great grandmaster-level martial sage would not be something that Xiaochen could imagine. However, he was still too late. That black light was so fast that it surpassed the speed at which Xiaochen could think. Just as he thought of fleeing, the black light stabbed into his chest. The black light pierced into his chest, and blood gushed out like a fountain from the wound. Black lines spread out from the wound in all directions. When Xiaochen looked carefully, he discovered that the black light was actually a pair of black scissors. They were half a meter long and had black dragon markings carved on them, giving them a spiritual charm. A vast, sea-like resentment immediately spread throughout Xiaochen's body and quickly reached his brain. The cries of agony were endless, echoing incessantly in his mind. Xiaochen bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. His mind became much clearer. He endured the intense pain and grabbed the handle of the scissors. Then he pulled it out. Boundless black qi lingered around the bloody hole in Xiaochen's chest. The evil flood dragon spirit's counterattack before death had pierced through him. If it had attacked at full speed, it would have torn his physical body to shreds. Fortunately, my firmament body tempering art has already reached consummation. As long as my heart is not shattered, I will be able to recover quickly. After vomiting another mouthful of blood, Xiaochen started to size up the black scissors in his hand. According to Qing Cheng, this was an immortal scissors from the immortal epoch. Unfortunately, the immortal Tao had been destroyed, hell had shattered, and reincarnation no longer existed. The immortal scissors had also lost its divine might, and was now just an ordinary item. Even the blue-robed emperor didn't think much of it. However, no matter how ordinary it was, it had lost its divine might. The materials used to make the immortal scissors were genuine and top-notch divine materials. The 10,000-year-old flame crystal and 10,000-year-old refined iron that Situ Leihong needed were of great use to Xiaochen's blue dragon body nourishing art. When the wound on his chest healed, Xiaochen could not care about anything else. He circulated the blue dragon body nourishing art and swallowed the remaining half of the flood dragon scissors into his body. Roar. Just as he swallowed half of it, a dragon roar came from Xiaochen's body. An azure dragon image appeared between his bones, swimming up and down his body. One dragon force. Unexpectedly, he gained an additional dragon force. Xiaochen was greatly startled. What is going on? Even if the materials of this immortal scissors were incredible back then, it was still impossible for him to use it. Even if the materials used to make the immortal scissors were incredible, Xiaochen estimated that even if he swallowed all of it, he would only gain half a dragon force at most. After all, back then, Xiaochen had swallowed more than 500 tons of divine materials before he barely gained one dragon force. Now the immortal scissors in his hand already gained one dragon force when he swallowed half of it. If he swallowed all of it, wouldn't he gain 2 dragon force? This was too strange. Xiaochen did not understand. He could not figure out what was going on. However, the increase in his vital qi was real. There was no exaggeration at all. And it was not just a mirage. With a thought, Xiaochen could easily feel the vital qi bursting out of his body. That was a bona fide 2 dragon force. When Xiaochen swallowed the remaining half of the flood dragon scissors, his vital qi gained another dragon force, reaching 3 dragon force. Could it be because of the flood dragon spirit? Xiaochen thought of an answer. It was very likely that the blue dragon body nourishing art increased dragon energy. This immortal scissors contained the ferocious spirit of a flood dragon from the immortal epoch. By swallowing it, Xiaochen could quickly increase his dragon energy. This opened a shortcut for Xiaochen. In the future, if he swallowed secret treasures containing dragon spirits, the goal of 10 dragon force would no longer be as distant as it was in the beginning. Good. Indeed, riches are found amidst danger. This half of the flood dragon scissors is not much. However, it has opened a path for me. A shortcut to cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art. Xiaochen revealed an expression of wild joy. He glanced at the ghost race great grandmaster level martial sage, who was still engulfed by the many spirits. Xiaochen said his thanks softly and unfurled the freedom wings, quickly flying forward. Qing Cheng carried his cycle banner with her, so she could sense it. She was not afraid of getting lost in this 9 layers of purgatory with the 4. After 1 hour, the ghost race great grandmaster level martial sage charged out of the encirclement in a sorry state. Black light filled the air. In just 1 hour, this person felt like a year and a half had passed. His face was filled with intense fatigue. Wave after wave of thousands of spirits were destroyed by this person's fists. If this person were at his peak, he would be able to charge out of the encirclement with a shout. However, after fighting with the flood dragon spirit for a long time, his body was no longer at its peak. He had even gone overboard a few times, causing significant damage to his body. The ghost race great grandmaster level martial sage showed a sullen expression as he looked around. Most of the 100-odd people he brought were already dead, including a few of his prized disciples. A white-robed man? Since when did the Kunlun realm have such a decisive and sharp junior? How come I did not know about it? This person's expression turned terrifyingly sullen. Xiao Chen's face appeared in his mind again. He clenched his fists so hard that crackling sounds could be heard. He said angrily, "No matter how great your background is, there is no way for you to survive after offending me, Emolian, in this 9 layers of purgatory." Just at this moment, sonic booms resounded. Emolian felt several strong auras flying in his direction. One of them was no weaker than his at his peak. Emolian looked up and narrowed his eyes. He muttered, "So it is the Medicine God Valley's people." This was not the first time the Medicine God Valley had come to the 9 layers of purgatory to obtain inattributed flames. Emolian did not find this strange. He had not recovered yet, and did not wish to meet this group of people. "Aha! Old Emo, please stop. Unexpectedly, we meet again here." When the Medicine God Valley's Mr. Wei saw Emolian, he showed a joyful expression and quickly called out, "Hey, how come old Emo is injured in the 1st layer of purgatory?" Mr. Wei asked doubtfully when he saw Emolian's injuries. Initially, Emolian did not want to bother with Mr. Wei. However, he suddenly remembered that Mr. Wei was a Grandmaster-level alchemist. He should have some sage-grade essence cultivating pills on him that could help him recover his vital chi and injuries quickly. If Emolian was lucky, he might be able to catch up to that white-clad brat. "I was ambushed by a white-clad youth. Mr. Wei, you came at the right time. How many sage-grade essence cultivating pills do you have? I'll buy them all." What kind of youth could even ambush the ghost race's Emolian? A white-clad youth? Suddenly, a thought occurred to Mr. Wei. He took out a painting and asked, "Brother Emo, is this the white-clad youth you mentioned?" When Emolian unfurled the painting, a boundless murderous intent immediately surged in his eyes. He asked coldly, "What is your relationship with this person? Why do you carry his painting on you?" Mr. Wei put away the painting and said, "Brother Emo, please do not misunderstand. Our Medicine God Valley has no relationship with this white-clad Xiao Chun. The 2nd layer of purgatory was called the Mirror of Sin Hell. It punished those who killed their relatives when they were alive, those who killed their parents or brothers. There was a mirror in there called the Mirror of Sin. With just a gentle shine, it could show the scene of one killing their relatives. It would place one in an illusion, repeating the scene over and over again. However, the pain of the person you injured would be multiplied by 1,000-fold. When you stabbed someone, you would have to endure the pain of 100 stabs. What was even more painful was the heartache. The despair of your relatives would be magnified 100-fold, forcing you to endure it yourself. You would have to endure both physical and mental pain. The cycle brought boundless torture, even more horrifying than the 1st layer of the Mirror of Sin Hell. However, that was a legend from the immortal epoch. The current Mirror of Sin Hell was a mirror-like glacier. Rumor had it that it was formed by the Mirror of Sin. There were many mutated spirits in the glacier that merged with ice. They had already surpassed the category of spirits and were known as ice phantoms. After killing ice phantoms, one could obtain ice soul pearls. These pearls were of great help to cultivators who cultivated ice-attributed states. Hence, this layer of purgatory was much more popular than the Mute Desert. Occasionally, one could see cultivators fighting with ice phantoms. As Xiao Chen flew in the air, he casually killed a few ice phantoms that were not very strong. After that, he could no longer endure their harassment. After that, he could no longer endure the might of his immortal will of thunder, and unleashed the might of his immortal will of thunder. Phantoms feared lightning-attributed energy the most in the first place. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's small perfection saber soul was hidden within. With these 2 factors stacked together, the ice phantom's instinctive fear deterred them from offending Xiao Chen. Relying on his connection to the cycle banner, Xiao Chen quickly flew towards Bai and the others. Bai's group did not slow down. They probably knew that Xiao Chen had the freedom wings, and would catch up to them sooner or later. Suddenly, Xiao Chen, who was flying quickly, paused in the air. 5 kilometers ahead, there was a man and a woman fighting an intense battle with 4 or 5 ice phantoms. Each ice phantom was at least 100 meters tall. The tallest was close to 200 meters tall. Their huge bodies were like small hills. Ice phantoms could increase their strength by swallowing their own kind. Normally, the larger they were, the stronger they were. Once they were over 100 meters tall, they were basically as strong as martial sages. A 200-meter-tall ice phantom was already as strong as a medial-grade martial sage. The man and woman had a hard time dealing with them. The woman was only an inferior-grade martial sage. The man was slightly stronger, already a peak inferior-grade martial sage. This man used good saber techniques and a strong saber intent. Even from a kilometer away, Xiaochen could feel the sharpness of this man. This was a peak great perfection saber intent. Naturally, what made Xiaochen stop was not this man's saber intent but his saber technique, the four-season saber technique. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. 4 mysterious phenomena flashed around this man. This person was the lower realms by clans Bai Qi. Bai Qi seemed to have made some improvements to this four-season saber technique. Although it was not as good as Xiaochen's, it was still very incredible. Chapter 971. Bai Qi fought the 200-meter-tall ice phantasm alone. Occasionally, he would make a move to help the other girl. Xiaochen had not expected to meet the other party in the 9 layers of purgatory. After observing the girl's situation, he discovered that she cultivated the ice-attributed state. He reckoned that Bai Qi had risked his life for this woman. "Senior brother, don't bother about me. Go on by yourself." The girl revealed a sorrowful expression on her delicate face. When the two entered this sin-mirroring hell, they had been very careful not to offend overly strong existences. However, they had not expected a 200-meter-tall ice phantom to emerge from the ground, resulting in the current situation. Dang! Bai Qi executed cycle of seasons and seasons, knocking back the 200-meter-tall ice phantasm again. He said sullenly, "Don't speak nonsense. Later I'll find an opportunity to delay these ice phantasm. You take the opportunity to leave. I'll follow soon after." However, based on Bai Qi's current state, he was already overwhelmed. If he managed to delay all 4 ice phantasms, how could he survive? Bang! Just at this moment, a figure descended from the sky. With a punch, he blasted the small mountain-sized ice phantasm into countless ice shards flying everywhere. The 3 dragon images formed by the wind in the sky slowly vanished, turning into strong winds that blew away. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand amid the ice shards filling the sky. A fist-sized black ice pearl appeared in his hand. Within the ice pearl, one could faintly see a wisp of a vengeful spirit wailing at the top of its lungs. This was the ice soul seed. When the largest ice phantasm died, the other ice phantasms let out strange cries and fled frantically. The pressure on Bai Qi decreased, and they immediately heaved a sigh of relief. However, their expressions remained grave. The strength of the person in front far surpassed the 2 of them. If he wanted to, he could casually kill the 2 of them. There were not many kind people who came to the 9 layers of purgatory. The situation might not be any better than before. "Brother Bai, it has been a long time since we parted at Hunluo City." Xiaochen turned around and handed the ice soul seed to Bai Qi. Bai Qi was stunned for a while before smiling in pleasant surprise. "Unexpectedly, I met Brother Xiao here. This is my junior sister, Nie Ran." "Junior sister, this is Xiaochen, who came with me from the Sky Dome realm, the white-robed Xiaochen who will be conferred king in half a year." Nie Ran's eyes lit up. Clearly, she had heard of Xiaochen's name before. However, she had not expected him to know the senior brother that she admired. Nie Ran's eyes lit up. She had clearly heard of Qi's name before, but she had not expected him to know the senior brother she admired. Xiao. He wanted to obtain the Ice Soul Orb to help him pass the trials and increase his chances of success, so he came to 9 Hells Purgatory to try his luck. Many thanks to Xiaochen for making a move this time. If not for you arriving at the right time, junior sister and I would not have survived. This matter was not worth mentioning. When an old friend was in trouble, how could he ignore it? Furthermore, it was just a casual strike. To Xiaochen this was nothing. "Where is Xianyuan Jiantian? If I remember correctly, he seems to be in the same sect as you. Why didn't you come with him?" Xiaochen thought of another old friend and asked. Bai Qi smiled helplessly and said, "His talent and potential are better than mine. The sect can no longer hide him. He left the sect 3 years ago and I haven't heard from him for a long time." Xianyuan Zhantian cultivated the state of kingship. With his accumulations, if he could really rise up, his strength could not be underestimated. After much difficulty, Xiaochen finally met with an ancient person from the Sky Dome realm. Just as he was about to chat with him, his expression suddenly changed. Earlier, in that instant, Xiaochen felt an intense fluctuation from the cycle banner. Qingcheng must have encountered a difficult battle, so she took out the cycle banner to face her enemy. Given the strength of Bai, Yuan Su, and the others, unless they met a strong opponent, Qingcheng would not use the cycle banner. "Sorry, my friend ran into some trouble, I have to rush back," Bai Qi said. "After obtaining the Ice Soul Pearl, junior sister and I will be returning as well." Before leaving, Xiaochen thought of something and handed Bai Qi a dragon pearl. This was the essence of the old ice dragon beside the Tianwu Emperor's grave for tens of thousands of years. "This dragon pearl can save your life when necessary. Take care. I'll take my leave first." Xiaochen's four-season saber technique had been imparted to him by a senior of the Bai clan. Without that senior's teachings, he would not have created his flawless 4 seasons. Now that they met, this dragon pearl could be considered repaying the other party's kindness. "Senior brother, so it turns out that you and the white-robed Xiaochen are acquainted. Why haven't you mentioned it before?" Niaran fiddled with the ice soul root in her hand, appearing extremely excited. Seeing the ice shards falling from the air, Bai Qi did not reply to his beloved junior sister. Instead, he smiled in disappointment and frustration. With one casual punch, Xiaochen instantly killed the ice soul that Bai Qi did not have confidence in even if he used his full power. Compared to when they met in Hunluo City back then, Xiaochen's strength had already reached a level that Bai Qi could no longer fathom. Back then, during the 5 Nations contest in Dragon Sealing City, Bai Qi and Xiaochen had been outstanding talents of the Sky Dome realm. Now the difference between them was like clouds and mud. Bai Qi thought about Xianyuan Zhantian's bold words when they parted, saying that he would catch up to Xiaochen within 10 years. Suddenly he felt that this was a distant goal. There was a kind of person who, once surpassed, would only grow farther and farther away. In the end, one would not even be able to see their backs. As for Xiaochen, he was such a person. Given the strength of Qingcheng and the others, they would not use the cycle banner unless they met a strong enemy. Xiaochen felt suspicious. Could he have met a great grandmaster level martial sage? Since when did great grandmaster level martial sages become so common? In the 9 ranks of the great families, there were only 2 great grandmaster level martial sages. How could there be great grandmaster level martial sages in the 9 layers of purgatory? Furthermore, of all the great grandmaster level martial sages, Xiaochen ended up in conflict with Bai and the others. With a thought, he directly summoned out the 8 ghost palanquin. If he could not use so close yet worlds apart, he would not be able to use it. If he could not use so close yet worlds apart, the speed of this 8 ghost palanquin would be even faster than the freedom wings. The only problem was that it exhausted more secret treasures. If not for his magic energy, he would not dare to use this 8 ghost palanquin at full power. The 8 ghost palanquin moved as fast as lightning in the sky of the Sin mirroring hell, moving like a flash of light. It was so fast that it felt like a gentle breeze. At the intersection of the 2nd layer of the Sin mirroring hell and the 3rd layer of the Sin mirroring hell, Qingcheng fought an intense battle with a ghost race man wearing black battle armor. That black-clad ghost race man did not look very old. However, he was a grandmaster level martial sage. 8 different sabers were stabbed into the back of this black-clad battle armor man. His aura was startling. As they fought, Qingcheng found it extremely taxing to hold on. As for Bai and the other 2, they were each occupied by a 500-meter-tall ice phantasm. They could not help at all. Whoosh! The black-clad man stretched out his hand and took out a black saber from his back. This saber had a strange shape. It was about 1 meter long, wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. The tip of the saber was flat. When the black-clad man swung the saber, a black saber chi knocked away the boundless starlight pouring over from the cycle banner. The advantage of his cultivation allowed the black-clad man to knock Qingqing back 100 meters. She could not stand stably, and the qi and blood in her body surged. The black-clad man said expressionlessly in a cold voice, "It looks like your 8-ghost palanquin is indeed not in your hands. In that case, you can go and die today." Qingqing put away the banner, and sighed in her heart at her bad luck. She said softly, "Xie Zixuan, I advise you to leave immediately. Otherwise you will not be able to leave even if you want to." Xie Zixuan smiled and said, "What's wrong? You still have reinforcements? Good. I'll come and see which great Grandmaster level martial sage of the Ghost Empress's faction will rush over to save you." Coincidentally, I just advanced to Grandmaster level martial sage. Let's see if I can use a great Grandmaster level martial sage as a sacrifice. The black-clad man's figure flashed, and he charged over to Qingqing again, hacking down with his saber. A ferocious evil spirit appeared on the saber, adding a boundless might to this saber strike. Qingqing sighed and shook the cycle banner in her hand. The banner unfurled, and 7 stars leaped out one after another, forming a Big Dipper formation. Starlight filled the sky, intertwining with the tricolored light of massacre, death and ruin. The viscous starlight slowed Xie Zixuan's movements. Qingqing found an opportunity to dodge this saber strike. Then, she summoned out the black and white soul reapers and surrounded the black-clad man. Qingqing's hands did not stop moving as she quickly formed hand seals. Many strong spirits appeared in the air, surrounding Xie Zixuan. Your Ghost Empress's faction is the best at refining spirits. However, you do not know that these mere worldly possessions are not worth mentioning before a true expert. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The other 7 sabers on the black-clad man's back all flew out. He took a step forward, and his figure split into 8, each holding a saber. Each saber had a different ferocious evil spirit attached to it. Each of them used a different saber technique, but they were connected to each other, vaguely appearing in the world. It was like a new world was born. Ghosts and gods descended. Black chi surged, and a faint divine might spread out. Ghosts howled, and black light shone everywhere, looking incredibly terrifying. Qingqing's expression changed slightly. "You actually succeeded in practicing the Avicii saber technique. Haha. Now you know fear, right? After Master, I am the second person of the ghost race to successfully practice the Avicii saber technique. The master of the ghost domain will definitely be me. This is just an incomplete version of the Avicii Hell. When I summon out the complete version of the Avicii Hell, I will dare to compete with the blue-robed emperor." The black saber chi shattered the many spirits. Soon, only the black and white soul reapers remained of the large number of spirits, holding on bitterly. Qingqing could not help feeling bitter. Xie Zixuan truly lived up to being the top disciple of the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. She wondered why she was so unlucky to run into a Grandmaster-level martial sage in the sin-mirroring hell. If Qingqing had the 8-ghost palanquin, she would be able to move even faster than Xiaochun. That would be more than enough for her to protect herself. Perhaps if she had another month, she could use the cycle banner to raise her cultivation to a higher level and summon out the clones of the 10 Yama Kings. The 8 clones merged into one, and the black and white soul reapers were chopped into 100 pieces. Then Xie Zixuan appeared before Qingqing once again, wearing the black battle armor, and sheathed the 8 ghostly sabers on his back. Qingqing waited solemnly as she hovered the cycle banner above her head. The starlight of massacre, death, and ruin mixed with starlight, encasing her and forming a barrier of starlight. Xie Zixuan frowned slightly. He did not know what kind of secret treasure this astral banner was. Unexpectedly, it managed to neutralize his attacks multiple times. If not for Xiaochun's breakthrough in cultivation, he would not have been able to deal with Qingqing, who held the astral banner. Chapter 972. However, that did not matter. This astral banner would be his soon. No matter how powerful a secret treasure was, the other party would run out of energy eventually. Receive another saber strike from me. Avicii Hell, 8 Division Heavenly Ghost. Xiaochun shouted and took 8 steps in the air. With each step, he He left behind an unscattering ghost image in the air. His aura continued to soar. After 8 steps, the saber light in Xie Zishuan's hand was like a ghost attacking, shaking the world. Qing Cheng's expression turned grave. The might of this saber strike was sufficient to shatter the barrier of the starry heavens and injure her. She could not leave even if she wanted to. She could only clench her teeth and endure. She circulated the law energy in her body, preparing to resist this saber strike head-on. Whoosh! Just at this moment, Qing Cheng suddenly felt that the cycle banner no longer obeyed her commands. She squinted and saw a white figure flashing by, holding the cycle banner in his hand. With a casual wave, the 7 stars returned to their positions. Then, Xiaochen drove his law energy, bringing out all the power of massacre, death and ruin in Merak, Migres and Fekta. Massacre, ruin and death. 3 ancient black characters materialized on the banner pole. The 3-colored light mixed with the starlight and immediately formed a vast sea with undulating waves. The will of massacre, the sound of ruin, and the sound of silent death reverberated endlessly in the air. The cycle banner's might was completely unleashed. Boom! It blocked Xie Zishuan's 8-division heavenly ghost in midair. Qing Cheng's face lit up in joy. Xiaochen finally arrived. If he had been any later, the consequences would have been hard to predict. Xie Zishuan spun around, and the afterimages of the 8-division heavenly ghost returned to his back. He showed a slightly shocked expression. He had not expected the cycle banner to erupt with such might. However, when he stood still and saw Xiaochen's cultivation, he calmed down. Then he looked at the 8 ghost palanquin behind him, and understood what was going on. The 2 exchanged secret treasures. Xiaochen could not help but smile. The ghost empress Shisun's favorite disciple actually chose a human cultivator, who was only a superior grade martial sage. If they didn't have a close relationship, why would they exchange secret treasures? Qingcheng, is this the reinforcement you spoke of? My ghost race has so many talented geniuses, yet you actually chose a human cultivator. Xiaochen was slightly stunned. He did not know what this person meant. He handed the cycle banner back to Qingcheng and said, "Go and save Bai and the others. Leave this to me." "You want to leave? Ask me first." Xie Zishuan's figure split up again. Each of his 8 clones held a weapon. The vague outline of the Avicii held descended from the sky. Torrential death aura poured out endlessly, looking extremely terrifying. Xiaochen's expression involuntarily turned grave. This saber technique was really strange. He did not know how it was cultivated, but the mysterious phenomenon it materialized was actually so real. However, he didn't have the time to think of a way to break it. He could only break it with brute force. A beam of divine light descended from the sky. Xiaochen executed the myriad heaven divine fists deities descending. Xiaochen charged up 3 dragon force. Due to the limitations of his body, he did not dare to bring out the 10-fold combat prowess. So he held back a small portion. His punch instantly reached 20 dragon force. 20 heaven dragon images roared ferociously behind Xiaochen. Dragon might spread out endlessly. Bang! The might of one punch shattered the vague outline of the Avicii held before Xie Zishuan's incredulous gaze, collapsing completely. The 8 clones fell to the ground at the same time, and vomited a mouthful of blood before merging back together. Xiaochen's pale face turned ashen as he coughed endlessly. He felt like his internal organs had all cracked. Xie Zishuan glanced at Xiaochen in horror. Then he stood up and fled in a sorry state. Xiaochen did not give chase. He looked at the cracked skin on his palm, and the aching bones under the flesh. He frowned slightly and said, "It looks like 10 dragon force is what my body can endure. If I add another 10 dragon force, I might not be able to endure it. At most, I can use it twice in a row." Qingcheng, who had not flown far away, rushed over to help. When she saw Xie Zishuan quickly fleeing, she felt somewhat dazed. Xiaochen felt a little dazed. Why did such a huge change happen the moment he turned around? Xie Zishuan had used a secret technique to summon the 5 gigantic ice phantoms together with a single-use secret treasure. Now that the other party had fled in defeat, the summoning ice phantoms naturally fled far away. When Xiaochen saw the 500-meter-tall ice phantoms, he trembled in fear. He did not know how Xie Zishuan had summoned them. The other party's final saber technique was also very strange. If not for a fortuitous encounter, Xiaochen would not have been able to increase his vital qi significantly. Even Xiaochen's subduing dragon profound slash would not have been able to break it. At most, it would have been slightly stronger. It would not have forced the other party to retreat so decisively. When Bai and the others met up, Xiaochen heard about what happened. Then he stared at Qing Cheng's startling face. Xiao Chun was the one who caused the two troubles in the 9 layers of purgatory. Qing Cheng felt somewhat diffident from Xiao Chen's stare. She said, "Don't look at this lady." Who could have imagined that Xie Zishuan just happened to break through and even ran into him in the 9 layers of purgatory? However, Xiaochen did not say anything. He quickly stretched out his hand, and his fingertip landed on Qing Cheng's forehead. Before Qing Cheng could react, she felt the restriction of the cold saber qi that Xiaochen left in her body slowly draining away. After all the cold qi was gone, Xiaochen withdrew his hand. A crystalline ice-wandering flower appeared in his palm. Qing Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she looked at Xiaochen with a strange expression and asked, "What do you want to do?" Xiaochen smiled faintly and replied, "What do you want me to do?" Seeing Xiaochen's expression that was not a smile, Qing Cheng blushed slightly. After a while, her expression returned to normal. She asked, "Why did you remove the restriction? Are you not afraid that I will sneak away? Let's go. We don't need you on the road to the Yellow Springs anymore." The moment Xiaochen said that, the others could not help but find it strange. They did not know why Xiaochen made such a decision. Even Qing Cheng felt surprised. Then she rejoiced. She smiled and said, "Since you said it, you can't go back on your word." "This lady is not going back on my word," Xiaochen said calmly. "If you still don't leave, I might change my mind. I'll lend you the cycle banner. Leave your 8 ghost palanquin to me. We can exchange it after we come out." Qing Cheng giggled and took the ice-wandering flower from Xiaochen's hand. She said, "That suits me. I'll take care of this flower. As a reward, I'll give you a sentence. Don't look back on the road to the Yellow Springs." Melodious laughter echoed in Xiaochen's ears. Qing Cheng's figure flashed, moving far away. In a few breaths, she disappeared from the sight of Xiaochen and the others. "Xiaochen, why did you let her go? We will definitely need her for the rest of the journey," Kong Yuan said, feeling confused. The few of them had long suspected that Xiaochen and Qing Cheng were not friends. At this moment, they were not surprised that Xiaochen laid his cards on the table. They only felt that it was strange that Xiaochen let Qing Cheng go. Xiaochen said softly, "We met with trouble twice in a row because of her. I don't know if it is a coincidence or if she played some trick. In any case, if she is not willing to go, let her be. This matter is very important. I'm not willing to gamble." Everyone thought for a while. This was indeed too much of a coincidence. If there were such coincidences along the way, it would be very troublesome. It would be fine if it was a coincidence. However, if it was not, it would be terrifying. "Let's rest here for the night. We will continue on our journey tomorrow." The few of them had experienced a huge battle and were definitely somewhat fatigued. Xiaochen had overloaded himself with 20 dragon force. His body needed time to recover as well. The sin mirroring hell was filled with mirror-like glaciers. There was no distinction between day and night. Resting for the night was just getting used to the division of time on land. The group remained silent. Amidst the silence, Bai and the others slowly circulated their qi. Xiaochen looked at the cracks on his skin. The wounds had not healed yet, and there were still many tiny cracks in his bones. Occasionally he felt pain. After obtaining the Flood Dragon Scissors, Xiaochen gained an additional 2 dragon force. However, his body did not absorb much divine materials, which could not keep up with the growth of his vital qi. Otherwise, with his 10-fold combat prowess and 30 dragon force, Xiaochen was confident of dealing with a great grandmaster-level martial sage of the ghost race, catching him off guard and even severely injuring him. On the surface, the divine materials that Xiaochen absorbed in the heavenly ruin wasteland only increased his strength by 1 dragon force. However, it was steady and steady. The The divine materials had already strengthened his physical body. Otherwise, Xiaochen would not have dared to burst out with 10 dragon force with a rank 3 sage body. That ghost race great grandmaster level martial sage clearly had a peak rank 4 sage body, which was why he could casually bring out 10 dragon force. However, it was still somewhat taxing for him to bring out 15 dragon force. If the other party's physical body could keep up, given his hundreds of years of accumulations, he should be able to triple his combat prowess and bring out 30 dragon force. Unfortunately, the other party did not have the blue dragon body nourishing art. A heaven-defying cultivation technique like that was stuck at the bottleneck of his physical body. Without a fortuitous encounter, he would not be able to take another step forward. Xiaochen thought to himself, after I go out, the auction for the longevity fruit that Ing Qiong helped organize should be over. At that time, I will use this large sum of astral coins to search for secret treasures containing dragon souls, and raise my basic dragon energy to 10 dragon force. Once I enter the second layer of the blue dragon body nourishing art, my physical body will advance to a rank 4 sage body. On the other side, after Qingqing traveled 50 kilometers, she stopped before an icy peak. She looked around expressionlessly, and her lips started to move silently. Waves of cryptic information quickly spread in all directions. In just a short moment, 2 figures quickly flew towards Qingqing. One of them was Jiang Qingzi, who had been defeated by Xiaochen. The other was an old man who was a bona fide great grandmaster. Congratulations on breaking free, young miss, the two said joyfully when they landed. Qingqing nodded slightly and said, how did Xiaochen's strength improve so much in such a short time? He managed to shatter Xie Zishuan's Avicii hell with one punch. Did you discover anything while following behind him? Jiang Qingzi answered honestly. He seems to have cultivated a strange cultivation technique that can absorb secret treasures to increase his strength. After he absorbed the flood dragon scissors, his strength increased explosively. So that's how it is. Qingqing toyed with the frost-lingering flower in her hand, thinking of something. Jiang Qingzi looked around and suggested, young miss, since you already broke free, should we make a move on Xiaochen? Elder Han is still observing them from a distance. The death chi of the 9 layers of purgatory shrunk the senses of cultivators. However, the ghost race cultivators were not restricted, so they had a great advantage. The moment Qingqing stepped into the mute desert, she used the ghost race's secret language to inform the experts of the Ghost Empress faction in the 9 layers of purgatory to follow her. Chapter 973. However, Xiaochen's spiritual sense was limited. Furthermore, Qingqing's movements were very secretive, so he did not discover her. Qingqing put away the wandering flower in her hand, and said with a serious expression, you are so long-winded. Since when is it your turn to make decisions? Call Elder Han back, and have him help me find a stalk of soul-returning grass in 1 month. Jiang Qingzi could not help feeling stunned after being reprimanded. However, he still obeyed the order and left. Qingqing hesitated for a while before saying, Marshal Uncle Feng, just continue following them. Inform me when you reach the gates of hell. I should make a trip to the Yellow Springs Road and the Bridge of Helplessness. After the old man left, Qingqing summoned out the psycho-astral banner. The entire banner pole flickered with black death chi. She muttered, with the help of this boundless death chi, I should be able to break through my bottleneck in 1 month. Xie Zishuan, at that time, let me see if the spirit technique is weak or not. After one night, Xiaochen and the others recovered to their peak states. Then, they started to follow the directions on the map, and rushed to the 8th layer of the skin-flaying hell. Along the way, they had to pass through several layers of hell. Each layer had changed during the martial epoch, but the danger had not decreased at all. Without Qingqing's directions, Xiaochen and the others moved much slower. Sometimes, they even took some detours, even running into some forbidden areas. However, there were benefits as well. There were no more coincidences, and they did not have to fight with other ghost race experts. After spending close to 1 month, the 4 finally arrived at the 8th layer of the skin-flaying hell. This was a vast forest made up of black iron trees. Intact human skins hung from the treetops, looking sinister and horrifying. The group carefully walked through the forest, heading for the legendary place of certain death, the place where one breathed the last breath of life. Practically no other cultivators could be seen in the 8th layer of hell. No other sounds could be heard in the forest, either inspiring extreme pressure. In addition, there were countless intact human skins. When the wind blew, they would sway. It was as if they were alive, and it would make one's hair stand on end. However, as Xiaochen walked in fear, nothing happened. He arrived at the shore of Last Breath Lake. Xiaochen vaguely felt that something was wrong, and he became even more cautious. The Last Breath Lake definitely did not have an undeserved reputation. Otherwise, the phrase Last Breath Lake would not have spread so widely in the world. The four arrived at the shore of Last Breath Lake without any mishaps. Then they stood by the lake, not moving forward. Along the way, every level of hell had different dangers, and the hell of skinning was no exception. The water of the Last Breath Lake was clear and translucent, flat like a mirror, and its surface emanated strands of cold air. Standing on the shore, Zhang Xian had to circulate his zhenqi to resist the cold. Otherwise, if the cold energy entered his body and turned into cold poison, it would be quite troublesome. What a heavy chill. Brother Xiaochun, where is the gates of hell? How do we get there? I looked at the boundless lake and asked Xiaochun. Qingcheng said that the gates of hell were in the middle of the lake. However, all she could see was the smooth surface of the lake. She did not see any sign of the gates of hell. There was an island in the middle of the lake, but it was too far to see clearly. Xiaochun muttered to himself for a while. Then he grasped the air with his right hand, and he caught some air currents. Then he quickly formed hand seals with his left hand, executing the life bestowal spell. Soon, a figure similar to Xiaochen landed on the ground. Right now, Xiaochen's magic energy had increased greatly. He could execute the life bestowal spell with a casual grab. However, the vessel was not a spiritual item, so it would not have much combat prowess. Under Xiaochen's command, the puppet leaped into the air and flew towards the surface of the Last Breath Lake. However, before it landed on the water, it was frozen into an ice sculpture. The puppet landed in the water with a splash, and Xiaochen's spiritual sense broke. His expression could not help but turn grave. Kong Yuan frowned and said, "This cold qi is extraordinarily horrifying. I estimate that we can only bring out 60 to 70% of our strength at best. If only that Qingcheng were here. She would know what to do." Standing in such a biting cold qi, one would have to constantly exhaust law energy to protect themselves. Naturally, they would not be able to bring out their full combat prowess. Xiaochen entered deep thought. A fierce purple flame started gathering in his right eye. With a thought, the purple thunder true fire surged out of his right eye and headed for the Last Breath Lake. A sizzling sound immediately resounded on the surface of the lake. Mist slowly rose up. The clear lake water quickly evaporated. Soon, a huge pit appeared where the purple thunder true fire covered. However, the expected whirlpool did not appear. Silently, the lake water slowly filled up. It was extremely strange. Never mind. We will not be able to find out anything like this. I'll go over and take a look first. You all can come back after there is no danger. Since he did not find anything, Xiaochen put away the purple flame and prepared to go over personally. Yuan Yen said sullenly, "Let's go down together. At least we can take care of each other. I believe that the gates of hell are on that island." Xiaochen thought about it and agreed. Given their strength, if they worked together, they would be able to deal with a great grandmaster-level martial sage. The gates of hell might very well be at the center of the lake. Just at this moment, Xiaochen casually glanced around and discovered some extremely shallow footprints on the ground. If one did not look carefully, one would not notice them at all. The others noticed Xiaochen's gaze and quickly looked over. They discovered the existence of footprints as well. Someone had been here before, and it was more than one person. Xiaochen compared the footprints of this group of people to the footprints of his four companions. The footprints of two of these people were even shallower than those of Xiaochen's group of four. Sometimes, the things that one accidentally left behind were the most authentic. If one did not do it on purpose, the depth of the footprints could reveal a person's strength and control of their body. From this, One could tell the strength of the owner of the footprints. Bai said somewhat worriedly. The strength of these people is not simple. 2 of them are suspected to be great grandmaster level martial sages. I don't know. What are they here for? Could they be here for the gates of hell as well? Yuan Su shook his head and said. That should not be the case. The 9 layers of purgatory abounds in inattributed flames. This group of people should be here to hunt for inattributed flames. There were no treasures on the Yellow Springs Road. Most people would not rush there for no reason. Xiao Qin immediately thought of the group of people from the Medicine God Valley. This was going to be somewhat problematic. He could only hope that the inattributed flames that the other party sought were not on the island in the center of the lake. Let's go. Xiao Qin took the lead and leaped forward. There was a formless pressure in the air, preventing Xiao Qin from flying. He could only walk on the water. Cold qi spread out, and immediately froze Xiao Qin's feet. This is really troublesome. Xiao Qin circulated his energy and shattered the ice. Then he continued forward. Bai and the others followed behind. As Xiao Qin walked on the lake, his law energy was constantly being drained. Otherwise, he would turn into an ice sculpture in a moment. Suddenly, Xiao Qin felt something catch his foot. At first he thought that it was the cold qi increasing. However, a strong force pulled him down. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. It was actually a skeleton hand. However, Xiao Qin possessed great vital qi. Every move he made contained 3 dragon force. How could he get pulled down? Xiao Qin kicked upward with his right foot. Water splashed everywhere, and Xiao Qin flung out a skeleton ghost that only had a skeleton remaining. Gaga gaga. My skin. My skin. The skeleton opened its mouth and screamed indistinctly. Then it spun in the air and shot toward Xiao Qin. Cassie. Cassie. Before Xiao Qin could make a move, Bai, who was at the side, drew the snow feather sword in his hand. A few strands of sword qi chopped the skeleton ghost into pieces. Elder brother Xiao Qin, are you all right? Bai asked out of concern. Xiao Qin waved his hand and said, I'm fine. Hey, be careful. The moment the skulls shattered into pieces fell into the water, they reformed and charged at Xiao Bai's back. Xiao Qin quickly rushed forward and sent out a beam of light from his fingertip, shattering the skeleton ghost into pieces again. Quick, let's go. These monsters cannot be killed. Right after Xiao Qin spoke, skeleton ghosts continuously appeared from the water, blocking the group's path. They screamed, my skin. My skin. My skin. Their voices made one's hair stand on end. Bang. 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 Xiao Qin led the way. As he faced the pressing cold qi at the bottom of the lake, he had to deal with the skeleton ghosts flying at him from the front. The skeleton ghosts could not be killed. They came endlessly, increasing in number as they killed. After 4 hours, the group had traveled less than 5 kilometers. They were still a long way from the island in the center of the lake. If they ran out of stamina, they would really die before they could reach the small island. The skeleton ghosts were not strong. At best, they were equivalent to peak martial monarchs. However, they could not be killed. There were many of them. If an inferior grade martial sage came, they would die in one exchange. Kong Yuan's voice trembled somewhat as he said, could it be that the skinning skeletons from the hell of skin flaying were all tossed into this lake? Xiao Qin thought about the densely packed human skins in the cyan forest. There were at least 1 million of them. The formless pressure in the sky persisted. Xiao Qin felt like Last Breath Lake was a prison with the sky as the top and the water as the bottom. Before these unkillable ghosts, it felt like any strong martial technique was just a decoration. Yuan Su and the others had executed a heaven-ranked martial technique that covered a large area earlier. However, these ghosts came back to life in the blink of an eye. On the other hand, they had exhausted a significant portion of their law energy. Yuan Su frowned heavily and no longer dared to waste his law energy. Just as the group considered retreating, Xiao Qin suddenly remembered that he still had a reincarnation lamp in his universe ring, which specialized in killing ghosts. Protect me. I'll chase these ghosts away. The eyes of Bai and the other 2 lit up. They each guarded aside, quickly surrounding Xiao Qin, not letting the other skeleton ghosts disturb him. The reincarnation lamp appeared in Xiao Qin's palm. Then he gently tossed it into the air, and flicked some essence blood onto the lamp's wick. The flickering lamp flame lit up, and rings of light appeared behind the ancient lamp. As Xiaochen drove his magic energy, the illusory figure in the light slowly became clearer. The immortal Tao honors life, boundlessly delivering people. Once I recite the scriptures, all the great sages praise me for being benevolent. Twice I recite the scriptures, and withered bones are reborn. Thrice I recite the scriptures, and then I cross the cycle of reincarnation. Immortal Qi surrounded the illusory figure as it opened its mouth and recited the mysterious scriptures. The scriptures contain the power of the cycle ghost saber, the power to deliver all living things from suffering. The thousands of skeleton ghosts on the lake suddenly stopped moving. Then they shattered with cracking sounds. Clumps of gentle spiritual light soared into the sky. The spiritual lights were all humanoid. Some dressed like scholars, some merchants, some chivalrous. All sorts of appearances showed the world of mortals. Chapter 974. The human skins on the iron trees also began to burn. The entire forest was engulfed in flames. The skinning hell seemed to be disappearing. If the cycle of reincarnation still existed, these spiritual lights would be able to escape the sea of bitterness and be reincarnated. But now that the 6 paths were broken, these spiritual lights could only fend for themselves. When Bai and the others saw this, they were all shocked. They didn't expect that such a troublesome ghost would disappear just like that. Xiaochen's magic power was nearly depleted before he managed to convert all the skeletons and ghosts in the entire Last Breath Lake. Xiaochen stood up and waved, holding the reincarnation lamp in his hand. Then he said, "Let's go. We have probably already alerted those people on the island. We need to move quickly. Do not get into a conflict with them." On the island in the middle of the lake, Mr. Wei of the Medicine God Valley, Gongsun Hualong, and the ghost race physical body Great Grandmaster Mo Lian looked at the blazing fire in the distance with shocked expressions. Behind the 3 of them, there was a group of martial artists who were also dumbfounded as they watched all of this. What's going on? The skins on the cyan tree are all burning. Could it be that someone converted all the ghosts and spirits in the Lake of Last Breath? Mr. Wei nodded and said, "That should be the case. This person either obtained the inheritance of a Buddhist sect martial technique, or a secret treasure that is even more powerful than the soul-slaying mirror in my hand." Gongsun Hualong's eyes moved around, and his old face appeared uncertain. He guessed, it should be a secret treasure that targets ghosts and monsters. There are only a few people in this world skilled in Buddhist martial techniques. It is unlikely that they would come to this 9 layers of purgatory. After making up their minds, the 3 of them laughed in unison. Mr. Wei said, "As the saying goes, it is better to come at the right time than at the right time. With this secret treasure, we will be much more confident in dealing with the golden bone demonic soul." Mr. Wei looked at Gongsun Hualong and Mo Lian beside him and said, "My 2 old friends, which one of you should go?" Before Gongsun Hualong could speak, Mo Lian said, "Haha, leave this person to me. None of you are allowed to snatch him from me." Whoosh! Right after Xiaochen spoke, he kicked off with one leg, and his body shot out like an arrow. With a leap, he shot several kilometers away, disappearing from the 2's sight. Gongsun Hualong and Mr. Wei were not surprised. In the ghost realm, the Ghost Emperor's faction and the Ghost Empress faction were like fire and water. In recent years, the Ghost Empress's faction relied on the art of refining spirits to become more and more powerful in the ghost domain. And the friction with the Ghost Emperor's faction had also gone from covert to overt, becoming more and more intense. If the cultivators of the 2 sects met outside, they would definitely fight to the death. Mo Lian was a core member of the Ghost Monarch's faction. When he heard that there was a secret treasure that could kill ghosts, he naturally could not wait. Gongsun Hualong said after some thought, "Mr. Wei, you are really willing to part with it. To think that you actually agreed to give the soul-slaying mirror to Mo Lian as a condition for his help. Secret treasures that target ghosts are extremely precious and rare." Mr. Wei chuckled and said, "It's fine. It's just a replica. It seems like it's worth it. Without Mo Lian's help, we would not have been able to reach the 8th layer of hell so quickly. Furthermore, we would not have been able to cross the last breath lake so smoothly. What should we do now? Should we wait for Emolien to return and attack together? Or should we attack first? This golden bone demonic soul is not easy to deal with. Let's test it out first. When Emolien arrives, it will be easier to kill it. When Gongsun Huolong heard this, he did not say anything more. He turned his head and looked at a pitch-black mound 5 kilometers away. On that small pitch-black mound, there was a snow-white flower in full bloom. A flame that looked like liquid ice danced and flickered on the core of the flower. Not far from the mound, a completely golden skeleton held a huge sickle in its hand. As it lay on the ground, it seemed to be in a deep sleep. Only the mouth of the skeleton opened and closed. Occasionally, it spat out clumps of black flames, burning the air clean and forming large patches of black clouds. The black clouds shrouded the mound all year round. Gongsun Huolong's gaze turned grave. He took out a set of blue battle armor and carefully put it on. Then he drew out a heavy black spear. Gongsun Huolong pushed off the ground and silently flew towards the mound. Mr. Wei held the soul-slaying mirror and followed closely behind. The cultivators of the Medicine God Valley spread out in a semicircle, serving as the flanks. Everyone showed an extremely cautious expression. They no longer dared to be careless. Suddenly, 2 clumps of black flames lit up in the hollow eyes of the golden bone demonic soul. It seemed to startle awake from a deep sleep. Dang! The golden bone demonic soul stood up at lightning speed, and the sickle in its hand sent out a crescent-shaped golden light. Kung-chang! It knocked back Gongsun Huolong's unexpected spear strike. Gongsun Huolong lost in a contest of strength. He flew back 1 kilometer, his right hand, which held the spear, turning slightly numb. Without saying anything, Mr. Wei instantly attacked. The Grandmaster-level martial sages behind him also attacked at the same time. The intense battle instantly reached its climax. However, neither side would be able to take down the other within a short period of time. On the other side, after Xiao Chun and the others were safe, they rushed towards the island. Without the obstruction of the skeleton phantoms, they recovered their usual speed. After 15 minutes, they arrived at the island. However, before they could heave a sigh of relief, their expressions changed. Emolien, who was rushing over, was stunned at first. Then he said joyfully, "Little friend, it looks like we are really fated. You were the one who caused the earlier commotion, right?" Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. However, he did not get overly flustered. He smiled calmly and said, "We are indeed fated. In just a month, we meet again. As for the earlier commotion, this junior was indeed the one who caused it. This old man is in a good mood today. Hand over this secret treasure that targets spirits, and the other half of the flood dragon scissors. Then you can leave." Emolien was indeed in a good mood. The commotion caused by that secret treasure was comparable to that of the original soul-slaying mirror. If he could obtain it and offer it to the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, he would definitely be able to attract the Ghost Emperor's attention. Perhaps the Ghost Emperor would personally raise Xiao Chen's cultivation realm to the blue-robed emperor, which Xiao Chen had no hope of achieving in this lifetime. This had happened before. Given the unfathomable strength of the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, it was definitely possible to raise someone to the blue-robed emperor realm by paying a certain price. Of course, the prerequisite was whether the treasures were worth the price the Ghost Emperor paid. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "However, while you are in a good mood, I am not. If you disappear from my sight now, I can pretend that I did not see you." Emolien could not help guffawing. "White-robed Xiao Chen, I heard of your name from the Medicine God Valley's Mr. Wei. Hearing about you is not as good as seeing you in person. You really are an extraordinary arrogant person. But in front of me, what right do you have to be arrogant?" Emolien smiled. Finally, he radiated killing chi. His voice was bone-chilling, devoid of any emotion. 10 dragon-shaped strands of energy swam behind Emolien, stirring up strong winds in the surroundings. A horrifying aura of an impending storm spread out from Emolien's body. 10 dragon force was only Emolien's most basic strength. A casual strike of his could produce 10 dragon force, which was 50 million kilograms of force. Today, I will show you the horrifying strength of a martial sage with the physical body. If you can receive my most ordinary punch without retreating, I will not make things difficult for you anymore. Bai looked worriedly at Xiaochen. Then he sent a voice projection. Elder brother Xiaochen, don't listen to him. His punch contains 10 dragon force. Unless one is a great grandmaster level martial sage, one cannot receive it. Xiaochen smiled gently and sent a voice projection. Bai, don't worry. You, Brother Yuan and Brother Kong, move back a little and watch carefully. Die. When Mo Lian saw Xiaochen take up a stance and send the other 3 back, he could not help but smile coldly in his heart. Then he shouted a war cry and charged over at lightning speed. The dragon-shaped strands of energy behind Mo Lian soared into the sky in all directions. Surging dragon might spread out for 5 kilometers around. When Mo Lian punched, it felt like a 50-kilometer mountain range was uprooted and fell from the sky. Mo Lian's aura was vast and boundless. The heavy aura made the air seem solid. Xiaochen did not panic. After he confirmed that Mo Lian really used only 10 dragon force, his lips curled up in a cold smile as well. Then he circulated the myriad heaven divine fist, deities descending. A strand of divine light entered Xiaochen's body from the distant sky, causing his aura to soar infinitely. However, before it reached its peak, Xiaochen stopped his aura from rising. Of the tenfold combat prowess, Xiaochen only brought out 70%, purposely suppressing the remaining 30%. Dragons roared, and 20 dragon-shaped strands of energy suddenly formed behind Xiaochen. Surging dragon might instantly suppressed Mo Lian's 10 dragon force. Mo Lian's heart pounded wildly as he cursed in his heart. Damn. 20 dragon force. This brat tricked me. His figure flashed as he tried to retreat. However, Mo Lian had rushed over at lightning speed earlier, arriving before Xiaochen in an instant. Now that he changed his mind, there was no time. Xiaochen took a step forward and easily caught up to Mo Lian. He punched with his right hand, and 20 dragon roars resounded in the sky, merging together and bursting out. Mo Lian vomited a mouthful of blood, and the vast might behind him shattered. Then he fell heavily to the ground like a sandbag. A natural crack appeared on the ground, continuously expanding. The sky shook and the ground trembled as dragon might spread out. Wounds appeared on Xiaochen's face. Blood seeped out, making his delicate face look extremely horrifying. Tiny cracks appeared in all the bones in his body as pain spread silently. However, Xiaochen's eyes remained as calm as clear water. His back was as straight as a pine tree, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He did not move at all. Looking at the disbelieving Mo Lian on the ground, Xiaochen said calmly, "As the saying goes, once a word is spoken, it cannot be taken back. As you wish, old mister, you can scram now." Rage flashed in Mo Lian's eyes. He vomited another mouthful of blood, and got up in a sorry state. Suppressing the injuries in his body, he smiled coldly and said, "Good. I misjudged you. You are also a physical body cultivator. However, you clearly used a secret technique in that punch. This old man doesn't believe that you dare to throw another punch like that." Xiaochen smiled mockingly. "What's wrong? Old mister, are you not going to keep your promise today? Haha. If I kill you, who will know that I went back on my promise? Don't feel unconvinced. I am bullying you today. What can you do to me? You are not the only one who can burst out with 20 dragon force." Clearly, Mo Lian no longer dared to underestimate Xiaochen. He prepared to use a secret technique to double his combat prowess. Even at the risk of injuring his physical body, he wanted to end Xiaochen. Otherwise, if he allowed Xiaochen to mature, he would be doomed. Chapter 975. Mo Lian's eyes were sharp. For the time being, Xiaochen did not dare to use deities descending to bring out 20 dragon force. However, from the very start, Xiaochen did not intend to clash head-on with the other party. He was here to bully. Xiaochen tapped his forehead, and the will clone that the Haotian emperor left behind quickly woke up. A heavy aura slowly spread out from its body. Mo Lian's expression changed drastically. He muttered, "This is emperor's might. You have a will clone of a heavenly emperor." Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "You guessed right. However, old sir, You are not bullying me today. I am the one bullying you. Don't feel unconvinced. Indeed, you cannot do anything to me. Right after Xiaochen spoke, his forehead opened, and the Haotian Emperor's will clone shot out. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes, and Emperor's might gathered. Just this aura alone knocked Emolian into the air. All of his aura crumbled, and he fled in a sorry state, not daring to linger. Emperor Wu was divided into Minor Heavenly Emperor Wu and Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. Every time the Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu underwent a tribulation, his strength would improve. After clearing 8 tribulations, he would undergo a sovereign tribulation and become a sovereign martial emperor. No matter what cultivation Emperor Wu left behind, the Wu clone could kill the great grandmaster level martial sage Emolian. The Haotian Emperor Ingzongtian was a Greater Heavenly Emperor who had cleared 8 tribulations. Naturally, the Wu clone that he left behind for Xiaochen would have an easier time killing Emolian. Emolian was nearly frightened out of his wits. He lost all will to fight. The moment the Emperor's might appeared, he forgot to resist and got knocked into the air. Emolian vomited a mouthful of blood and startled awake. His complexion paled. Without saying anything, Emolian turned around and fled. Every time he pushed off the ground, countless cracks appeared in the ground, spreading out like a spiderweb. However, it was too late to flee now. The 4 only saw a flower of blood blossom 5 kilometers away. Without any surprise, the Haotian Emperor's will clone smashed Emolian into smithereens with a single palm strike. Yuan Su said with some pity, Xiaochen, isn't it not worth using the will clone of the Haotian Emperor on this person? Putting aside Xiaochen, Yuan Su, Bai, and the other 2 were all top geniuses of the fiend race's younger generation. They might not have much chance of winning against a great grandmaster level existence alone, but if they joined forces with Xiaochen, it wasn't as if he didn't have the strength to fight. In fact, his chances of winning weren't low, at least 60%. Xiaochen's expression remained the same as before. The damage from executing 20 Dragon Force slowly healed. The wounds on his body had already healed completely. All that was left were some fine cracks on his bones that were slowly recovering. However, as long as he did not use 20 Dragon Force again, it would not take long for him to recover. As Xiaochen looked in the direction that Emolian came from, he muttered to himself, whether it is worth it or not depends on the person. If I can snatch the attributed flame that those people are targeting, it will be worth it to me. Earlier, based on the footprints at Last Breath Lake, Xiaochen guessed that these were the people from the Medicine God Valley hunting for the attributed flame. However, the Medicine God Valley only had 1 great grandmaster level martial sage. However, the footprints showed 2 people suspected to be great grandmaster level martial sages. When Xiaochen saw Emolian, he reacted and confirmed that this was the Medicine God Valley's people. It must be someone from the Medicine God Valley sect. However, Xiaochen did not know what was going on, but the other party was with Emolian. If the Medicine God Valley sent a great grandmaster level martial sage to hunt for the attributed flame, it would definitely be of a high grade. Xiaochen's lunar true flame had not advanced for a long time already. This resulted in the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram losing its balance, preventing it from bringing out its full might. This had troubled Xiaochen for a long time. Now an opportunity was right before him. Naturally, Xiaochen did not want to cause any more trouble. If Emolian escaped, the 2 great grandmaster level martial sages would meet up again. If that happened, it would be somewhat problematic to collect the attributed flame. After hearing Xiaochen's analysis, the group suddenly understood. So that was the case. Bai thought for a while and said, I once saw an adoptive father's study that the highest ranked attributed flame in the 9 layers of purgatory is called the icy snow flame. However, no one has found it yet. It is very likely that this group of people found the icy snow flame. Yuan Su nodded and said, the icy snow flame ranks among the top 10 attributed flames. It is indeed worth making a move on it. Kong Yuan was an impatient person. He quickly said, what are we waiting for? Let's give chase. Otherwise, if we are too slow, the attributed flame might be snatched away. Yuan Su smiled and said, you blockhead. If the attributed flame were that easy to collect, it would have been taken long ago. They are probably waiting for this ghost race great grandmaster level martial sage to rush back to help Xiao Chen's secret treasure. There is no need to rush. The more ferocious the fight between them, and the ghosts guarding the inattributed flame, the better. We can just sit back and reap the benefits. Xiao Chen smiled. Clearly, he agreed with Yuan Su's point of view. He said, let's go. We should just walk over slowly. If we go too quickly and startle them, it would not be good. The group walked unhurriedly in the direction that Emolian came from. After walking for an hour, they finally heard the sounds of intense fighting. Another hour later, the scenery 5 kilometers ahead appeared before his eyes. He quickly landed on the ground and hit himself. They saw a skeleton covered in golden bones in the sky, holding a huge sickle in its hand. This skeleton quickly exchanged moves with an old man wearing battle armor and brandishing a long spear. It was clear that the old man wearing battle armor was at a disadvantage. If not for another person holding an ancient mirror that occasionally shot out a beam of light, the old man would have been at a disadvantage. If not for that person holding an ancient mirror that occasionally shot out a beam of light, this great grandmaster level martial sage would have fled long ago. Several miserable corpses lay on the ground, all of them split in half. Xiao Chen's gaze immediately landed on the sand dune. When he saw the beautiful icy snow flame, he revealed an expression of joy. It was indeed the icy snow flame, one of the top 10 inattributed flames. If the lunar true flame consumed it, it would definitely be on par with the current purple thunder true fire. The might of the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram would be even stronger. In the future, when Xiao Chen faced a great grandmaster level martial sage, he would be able to protect himself. Xiao Chen swept his gaze over the battlefield in the sky. Then he came up with a countermeasure. He said, later, I will make a move to block that golden bone demonic soul. I will help me retrieve the icy snow flame. What about the two people in the sky? A bow appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. Then he took out the final Starbreaker arrow and said softly, they will be dead soon. If you do as I say later, you will be able to retrieve the icy snow flame without suffering any injuries. Xiao Chen drew the bowstring back and circulated 3 dragon force. As the bowstring slowly drew back, the entire bow crackled. Xiao Chen could vaguely feel the limits of the Soul Slayer bow. The Soul Slayer bow's might would be as great as its vital qi. However, it was an ordinary item after all. There would always be a limit. However, if Xiao Chen used the Starbreaker arrow with 15,000 tons of force to deal with the Medicine God Valley's Mr. Wei, he would be able to catch him off guard. Seeing that Xiao Chen wanted to deal with these two in one go, Bai and the other two could not help but hold their breaths and focus. If this arrow really succeeded, the balance in the sky would immediately be broken. Mr. Wei and Gongsun Hualong, who were bitterly enduring in the air, anxiously waited for Emolian's arrival. In the intense battle, Gongsun Hualong did his best to push back the golden bone demonic soul. However, he could not help vomiting a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. Mr. Wei quickly activated the soul-slaying mirror. A bright light shot out, and the golden bone demonic soul burst into flames, inflicting immense pain. Although the flames caused the golden bone demonic soul to give up on chasing, they did not injure it. After the flames subsided, the golden bone demonic soul would charge over again. Mr. Wei, hold on for another 15 minutes. If Emolian still does not arrive, this old man will be helpless and will have to retreat. Gongsun Hualong swallowed another Saint Tier healing pill and said anxiously, I'll be fine. Although there was a sage-grade medicinal pill, it was clear that Gongsun Hualong had already consumed it many times. Hence, its effects were much weaker. Sweat appeared on Mr. Wei's forehead. Unexpectedly, the golden bone demonic soul was much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. After 4 or 5 exchanges, the people that he brought with him all died. Only Mr. Wei and Gongsun Hualong remained. If not for the soul-slaying mirror, they would have died several times already. Hearing Gongsun Hualong's intention to retreat, Mr. Wei quickly said, Don't panic. We have already injured this golden bone demonic soul. Just hold on for a while longer. When Emolian arrives, we will succeed. Seeing the flames on the golden bone demonic soul slowly dissipate, Gongsun Hualong snorted coldly and said, You can play by yourself. This old man does not have the life to waste with you. This old man will leave after 15 minutes. Just as Mr. Wei was wondering if he should increase the stakes, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Then he turned his head to look. Boom. Before Mr. Wei could clearly see what it was, blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Then he discovered a bowl-sized hole in his chest. His life force was slowly fading. The inner vest that Mr. Wei had spent a lot of money to buy did not stop the golden bone demonic soul at all. This sudden change startled Gongsun Hualong. He was flabbergasted, and his mind went blank for a moment. By the time Gongsun Hualong recovered his wits, the flames on the golden bone demonic soul had already vanished. It brandished its scythe, and a lightning-fast strike lit up the sky. Gongsun Hualong's expression changed drastically. He quickly blocked, and the spear in his hand broke. A golden light fell, and the battle armor on his chest split in half, falling off in an instant. Feeling the lingering aura of death lingering in his body, Gongsun Hualong felt as though he was nearly cleaved into two. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, he quickly fled. However, just as Gongsun Hualong turned around, he heard 10 heaven dragon roars behind him. A storm was brewing, and the world was about to change. It was like Xiao Chun had calculated everything. When the golden bone demonic soul injured Gongsun Hualong, Xiao Chun sent out 10 dragon force and mercilessly struck Gongsun Hualong's chest. Kasie, Kai. The sound of internal organs breaking rang out. Gongsun Hualong did not even see who attacked. A bloody hole appeared in his chest, and he crashed to the ground like a cannonball. It is time for us to make a move. Kong Yuan smiled faintly, and the 12 holy peacock feathers on the light wall behind him spread out. Then, together with Yuan Su, they flew towards the severely injured and weakened Gongsun Hualong. As for Bai, he pushed off the ground and landed on the mound, beside the icy snow flame. After sending Gongsun Hualong flying with one punch, Xiao Chun would have to face the horrifying golden bone demonic soul alone. Even when Gongsun Hualong and Mr. Wei worked together, they could not do anything to this golden bone demonic soul. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.